All right, I'm going to call to order the July 17th, Board of Directors meeting. Can we please stand for a moment of silence, and then we will pledge of allegiance to the flag? Thank you. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
I'd like to go ahead and make a motion that we adopt the agenda, but I do want to make one change or propose one change, that since we have people here to speak about both the bus depot and about the stadium in Mount Pleasant and maybe some other items, that we go ahead and move item 5, which is public comments, to before consideration of the executive session items, which include, of course, the stadium issue.
Okay, so we have a motion to adopt the agenda with a change to move public comments, which is item 5, to before item 4, which is consideration of executive session items, and also approval of consent agenda items, which I think the only consent agenda items are the operation action items from today, which are items 1, 2, 3 on the agenda. So we have a motion from Mr. Staubs. Do we have a second?
So I'll second it, but basically reversing 4 and 5.
Correct.
So 5 becomes 4.
Yep.
4 becomes 5.
Yep.
All right.
So we have
Second.
a motion and a second. All right. So Mr. Hollenshed?
All right.
Ms. Coates?
Yes.
Reverend Collins?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Staubs?
Yes.
Reverend Mack?
Yes.
And I vote yes, so that motion passes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the open session from June 1st?
So moved.
I make a motion that we approve the open session minutes from June 1st and June 26th in one motion. Would you accept that as a friendly amendment, Mr. Miller?
I would.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve the open session minutes from June 1st, 2017, and June 26th. We have a motion from Ms. Coates and a second from Mr. Miller. Do we have any questions? If not, Mr. Hollenshed, how do you vote?
All right.
Ms. Coates?
Yes.
Reverend Collins?
Abstain.
You abstain? Okay. Mr. Miller?
Aye. God bless you.
God bless you. Mr. Staubs?
Yes.
Reverend Mack?
Yes.
And I vote yes, the motion passes. The next item on our agenda is public comments. Reverend Mack?
Madam Chair, we have 15 people that have signed up to speak tonight. And as we call your name, as I call your name, if you would just line up to the far left of me, we have Peter Fontenue, Deborah Barrett, William Pickering, and Rebecca Emholtz. If you would please come in that order.
Don't start the clock just yet. Let everybody get settled.
Well, damn, that's a total.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Peter Fontenot. I'm here to speak about the regional stadium. I've been to many, if not all, of the public meetings. Frankly, listening to most of the comments and hard work that's been done by the board. I want to, first of all, thank you very much for presenting the information and also to listening to some of the concerns that people have raised. I've certainly raised a few myself. I think there's some differences of opinions as to which way to go. But I do appreciate the fact that you presented at the last meeting 2 options, option 1, which was the one that had been presented over the course of the last few months, and certainly option 2. I am a resident of Carolina Park. I'm here to weigh my support in for option 2. So I want to thank you for listening to those concerns. I know there are a lot of parents here that are option one parents. My neighbors, hello. Hopefully we can still be neighbors when we're done here tonight, right? Frankly, I objected to the last public meeting. Things got a little bit, I think we lost a little civility here. I think we need to restore some of that, right? We just have a difference of opinion as to which way to do that. Frankly, didn't like being lectured to. And I do want to just, Chris, I guess I want to single you out. I understand there was a survey. That got out to all the kids at the schools, the sports teams. Sounds a little unfair to me. If it's going to go to a public vote, let's canvass the entire neighborhood. Let's go to a public vote if we're going to do things like that. So with that, again, let's hope we can keep it civil. And I want to say also, let's just make sure it's the taxpayers who are paying for all this. I appreciate the hard work you're doing, balancing the needs of the entire community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Deborah Barrett?
I don't know who else will pay for it.
Good evening.
Good evening.
First of all, I'd like to thank you, the school board, for answering positively to the James Island school community by not placing the buses near its school. Secondly, I'd like to thank Reverend Collins for listening to our voices, for not having the bus depot at W. Gresham Megget at the last meeting, and supporting the voice of its people. I want to remind Reverend Mack that at our last Monday night community meeting in which he attended, that we would like his support 100% as the representative of the district. W. Gresham Megget has a vast history, the only high school now standing on James Island. Other black schools have been destroyed. There are many memories that the school have. It's our pride and joy. During the segregation era, schools were separate but not equal. It was the grace of God that our parents, grandparents, teachers, and taught and inspired us. We were taught manners and respect, the 3 R's, and lifelong skills. After segregation, the honor of a great educator, September Clark, was added to the school's history, serving a diverse population. Most of all, W. Gresham Megget produced men and women who proudly served in the U.S. Army, Air Force, Marines, Corps, and Navy. Scipio Williams is one who comes to my mind, who's a graduate of Megget, and he lost his life in Beirut. W. Gresham Megget also produced professionals in medical, education, and political arenas. An historic school should not be decorated by yellow buses as its exterior, serving as a bus depot. It's an insult to our history and our memory. Taking down its past structure is taking down a part of our history. We are proud of W. Gresham Megget, and we stand by it, and all of our members here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
William Pickering?
Good evening. Hello, I am Will Pickering. I'm a rising sophomore at Wando High School, and I am a starting safety.
Hi, I'm Holston Slack, rising sophomore at Wando High School and starting center.
And we are here for the option 1 for the regional stadium at Carolina Park. And this is because one is the noise level. As a student also, the noise of at the trailers, you can hear the construction, and that could be distracting sometimes. And one of the biggest areas of focus is the practice area, as there wouldn't be enough practice facilities for us to use, and that's for track, football, and soccer, lacrosse, and all those for the locker room. And also, if the kids first, like if we had to drive off campus, that's dangerous for us, even though we had to use it, because our weight room is on campus, and then to go off campus just for practice would be just not right.
Some more issues are the space between fields, option 1 and option 2. The fields are maybe 5,000 yards apart. People are throwing up a big fuss about it, and it's not even that big of a difference. The alternate option for the space of option 1, if the stadium were not to be there, there have been talks about a town center being there. If a town center was there, there would be traffic almost every day during the year versus with a stadium. The stadium attracts the most crowds when there are football games and maybe 6 home games a year, so 6 nights a year versus almost every day of the year, there would be heavy traffic. And the last reason we are up here in favor of option 1 is because traveling to a different field will add time to our workouts when we already get out at 11:30 and kids have jobs that start at noon. So traveling 30 minutes round trip would put them at noon and they would have to talk to their bosses and push their jobs farther back, which may risk their job security.
Thank you for your time, and please consider option 1. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Rebecca M. Holtz. I have been an active volunteer with the district for about 20 years, and I serve on the Citizens Oversight Steering Committee for the district, Phase 2 for capital improvement projects that includes the East Cooper Shared Stadium. My comment tonight, though, reflects my own personal opinions, not for any committee that I represent. The site for the East Cooper Shared Stadium really needs to support the original intent of the bond referendum that we passed in 2014. Voters envisioned a neutral site for a shared community stadium, which includes our students. Option 2 was a new option. I really don't know that much about it. This is a really important project that will be around in our community for decades, and we only have one time to get it right. As you all know, I have spoken before about we need to get everything, as soon as possible. 2018 is a wonderful a goal to have the stadium ready to go. But maybe we need to press the pause button so that we can look at all the options very clearly, because we only have one time to get it right. Maybe there's even a third site out there that might be a neutral location for the stadium. And I'm thinking of something to do with the Charleston County Parks and Rec area where the new county park is going into. Thank you.
Next we have Councilwoman Anna Johnson, Kevin Cunane, Benjamin Dean, and Reverend Klubenko.
Good evening to the chair,
Good evening.
other commissioners, trustees of the board. I'm Anna Johnson, member of Charleston County Council District 8. And this is a district that the Grimler Road resides in. So I'm here today again to talk with you about the bus depot. And I'd like to ask the members of the community to stand along while I read this. The residents in the Grimler Road community continue to express their dissatisfaction for the bus depot that has been proposed in their community. The last time I was here, you had considered the elementary school as a location for the buses, and that has been now reversed, I understand, to the Gresham-Maggott historical school site. Since you have reversed that, a lot of people have expressed even more concern that now you're in the same community still, right across from the other side of the property line, and you're bringing the buses back into the area. And they have great concern for their health, for their safety, quality of life. They are really in an uproar about this. I don't believe anybody could really guarantee that there's no negative impact of 37 to 40 buses coming in this area. We're not talking about Folly Road. We're talking about just a 2-lane highway, one going in and one coming out. And to have the buses at this time would be a great injustice for the people in that community. Reverend Wallace, who is leading the group here, is not here today, but he did ask that I let you know that he will be back in town tomorrow. He had to go to a conference. He's willing to sit down and discuss the matter, and so am I. We have worked before with successful projects with the school board, and we'd like to see that, I certainly would, see that continue. So anything that our staff at the county can help you all with, anything that I can help you all with, we'd be glad to sit down and talk with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
First, I'd like to thank all of you for your service. I know it's a thankless job and you work hard. I'm just going to remind you, I know you know this, but it's really about the kids, all these decisions. You know, it's not about money. This Wando thing, one of the proposals takes away practice fields. I'm a dad of 3 younger girls. I'm guessing that the girls' sports are the ones that are going to get iced out, because that's traditionally what always happens. With the 2014 referendum, the community supported the district with a long list of proposals, and the community rallied behind it to take on the burden of extra taxes in order to get benefits for our community that we couldn't get otherwise. If we get a run-of-the-mill project out of this, why do we have to pay the extra money in the referendum? And secondly, how can we support a referendum like that in the future if we're basically lied to in one way or another? And we had a situation in Mount Pleasant where Councilman Santos, who's here, and agree with him or not, at least he's present. You know, I don't see the mayor here, though I didn't see her at any of the other meetings. It's not really a town issue, true, but it is an issue for the residents and for the future of the town. And to plug in a little bit would have been nice, but Councilman Santos had an idea of cooperating between the town and the district, and maybe even bringing in the county to address this, and it got dropped in committee at the town council by the mayor. It's unacceptable. And I'm just asking you to please don't drop the ball on any kind of cooperation. You know, there's plenty of land around still that could be done with right. And it seems to me that the board and the district is somewhat of a commercial real estate player. When I see Lang turning into Home Depot, the option 1 site, you know, maybe disappearing into retail space, this bus depot, you know, use the smarts that you have up there and recognize that there's a lot of real estate, nice buildings like this even, that could be put into the mix and refocus back to the kids. Thank you.
Good evening and thank you. I am very sympathetic to the lady who very articulately said we need to take a pause on the stadium. Just take a pause. I'm sympathetic to the students who are supporting their option. I'm opposing option 1, but I understand that basically what's happening here is that congestion is affecting either option, seriously affecting congestion. I'm in opposition to option 1 because that puts this huge stadium right there in a congested area where traffic has to flow through on Carolina Park Boulevard. If you have looked at this, you'll see immediately what the problem is. Traffic, Wando schools, traffic from the residential areas of which I'm a resident of, and the Costco, the Highway 17 being the main access into our neighborhood. When you look at how much traffic is really going to go in there, and it's not going to be just 6 events, it's going to be leased out. The county will have to use maximum leverage on the assets, so it's not going to be just occasional. And it's a safety concern as well. The safety analyses that we heard had individual estimates, but when you put them all together, you see that the synergy and the combination are very detrimental to the neighborhood, and you can't even project the amount of traffic that will be coming through there, because one of the things, if you look, is huge amounts of land space that's already been cleared for new houses, more residencies, more residents, and more cars, all funneling through this one roundabout, essentially, and up that small corridor that goes past a children's center, fire station, and Roper Hospital right there as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Reverend George Kubleno, representing the Interfaith Action Committee, those predominantly African American churches on James Island. We're here last month, and on your own agenda, you are going to locate the bus depot at the James Island Elementary School. But when we left here, you arbitrarily decided to move the location to Gresham Megan. There was no discussion with the community, and up to today, the community has not been notified as to the rationale of that change. We raised a lot of health issues, and changing the location did not address any of the health issues we raised. The only thing we were hearing from the board was all of a sudden you became concerned with the location with respect to how long it would take bus drivers to go to a location to pick up their buses. You will raise some issues about cost. But what we are saying as community members, our health is more important than the cost. And that is what we are arguing about. We want the board to engage in the community. We are prepared to have a dialogue with you to discuss this issue, because you are all very honorable people, and I don't think you will allow a depot to be located in your community with serious health problems. That's the issue we are trying to address. Thank you.
Thank you. Alethea Setzer, Jeff Bobby, Stephanie Williamson, and Christian Lubinski. Yeah.
Thank you, school board members. My name is Alethea Setzer, and I have one kid at Wando, another child that will be there soon, and I'm also a teacher. So to me, the education component of this comes first. I'm speaking on behalf of option 1 of the regional stadium. Chris Stobbs put on his Facebook page for school board our survey, and within 9 hours, we had over 1,000 responses for option 1 and option 2. All the people that are saying it wasn't made public keep referring to option 1 and option 2. That's the only place it was ever called option 1 and option 2, so they must have seen the survey. Everyone could have answered it. Everyone had the same opportunity to. 87% as of 2 o'clock today voted in favor of not putting it on the Wando campus, putting it in the original location. 1,268 people voted for option 1. 183 voted for option 2. That's huge in the number world. I'm a math teacher, and that's a big deal. Anybody could vote on it. Also, the teacher in me is freaking out that they're going to have construction behind where my kid is taking 5 AP classes. They're going to be banging and clanging and making all kinds of noise while he's trying to listen to a lecture on AP US history from the hardest teacher in the state. I mean, how do you do that? How do you focus? These kids all have fidget spinners now and bouncy balls. How are they going to listen when there's a cool bulldozer outside of the window and hauling dirt and all that? It can't be built while they're in school. That's just dangerous. It's not safe. And the air quality is going to be bad while they're doing it. On top of that, where do the PE classes go? I'm a runner. I'm a triathlete. We're going to send those kids over to Carolina Park for their PE class or ship them over to Lang? How does that happen? We can't take away more from Wando. Wando's waited 17 years for this stadium. It's time to put the kids first and give them what they have waited so patiently for. Thank you so much for your service and for all that you do.
Hi, I'm Jeff Bobby, and I have one son left at Wando. I've had 2 graduate. He's a sophomore, so it really affects him a lot. You know, he plays football too, but it's about the student. And everything about this whole option 1, 2, it smells wrong. It's about what's right. You know, my tagline is do what's best for the student. It's right versus wrong. And option 2 is wrong. I mean, everybody can say, you know, the people who support and chew, it's all about, you know, traffic and stuff. You're getting the same amount of traffic coming across there if it's a football stadium on one side or the other side. Well, like our former speaker said, it's about the student. And students can't perform in the classroom if you have distractions. And I don't think the school district or the school board wants to grade a curve grade for the whole school year based on the distraction that that's going to bring with it. Is that pretty correct, accurate? No one wants to give a curve to students? You know, exactly. So, you know, it's not about what's best for you as a school district. It's not about what's best as a city of Mount Pleasant. It's not about what's best for the county. It's about what's best for the student, all right? It doesn't matter if it's the student or the athlete. They're all going to suffer. I mean, if you take the practice fields and say, oh, we're going to build them over here. First of all, option 2 doesn't even have a plan for fields. Are fields ready right now? Because if they're not ready right now, you start construction today, where did the football team go to practice? There's no plan right now. So you have to have a plan. There's been no proper due diligence to create that. So in the regional stadium, if it's off campus, it's perfect. It's a regional stadium. If it's on campus, it's not going to work. You're going to have people coming in from the outside. It's not going to feel home to them. There's going to be violence and vandalism. What if the opponent's teams don't like Wanda, want to come over and vandalize the stadium? They can do all that. So my whole thing is just do what's right for the student, because it's all about the student. It's not about us. We've got to blank that out of our head. If it costs a couple extra bucks, it does. And then my last thing that I want to make a point at is that I've been told by the board that the variance of the 80-foot rule from the right-of-way for off-site parking has been a City of Mount Pleasant council that won't support it. Well, I spoke to Gary Santos earlier. He's back there, and he basically told me earlier that he would support the variance now because that's one of the sticking points. Because it's all about the student, not about us. Thank you. Thank you.
First of all, thank you so much for giving us a voice today. We really appreciate it. My name is Stephanie Williamson. I am a parent, a very avid volunteer with all the schools, and have been involved for a very long time. I just want to talk some numbers with you really quick, just so you can understand what's going on. I know some of these numbers are going to go down when Lucy Beckham opens. However, they're building like crazy up there. And you cannot tell me that Wando's numbers are going to go down a whole lot. Because when 500 new homes come in at Carolina Park and they're moving here because of the schools, it's just the numbers are going to grow. We have 3 football teams. That's approximately 200 kids. We have 4 lacrosse teams. That's 175 kids. We have 4 soccer teams. That's around 100 and, God, it stinks getting old, 150. Track and field, about 130. The band, 260 kids that need fields to practice on. That's over 1,000 students being affected by this immediately. We will feel this immediately. Not to mention, if there are 4,000 kids that take PE, where are they going to go? It is required that they take PE. So they need that field on a daily basis. We're going to have to rearrange everything. We voted on a regional stadium, not a Wando stadium. Each of the schools using the stadium should have their own practice fields. They're on their own campuses, not only for safety, but because we owe it to them. 17 years these kids have had to been bused to go down and play. It should be a beautiful stadium that services the entire community. We need a neutral site for that, not Wando. Why should the Wando campus also have to deal with the traffic from Lucy Beckham and future schools? Everything will have to be scheduled around the stadium because of the lack of parking. In other words, if there's a wonderful production one night with the drama club, it has to be scheduled away from all this other stuff with all these other schools coming. I think the stadium needs to be one that is your legacy. It needs to stand for the next 30 to 40 years. We don't need a quick fix. We need a long-term solution. Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Kristen Gabinski. I am the mother of a rising sophomore at Wando High School, and I have another athlete as an 8th grader at Cario. I'd like to just be real for a second, if you don't mind. It doesn't matter whether we put the stadium on the right side of the street or the left side of the street. Both scenarios will create the same amount of noise, the same amount of traffic, and the same amount of light projection. My biggest concern should be, our biggest concern should be the safety of our students. If a stadium is placed on the Wando campus on option 2, more of our teams will be forced off campus to practice. Riddle me this, who's liable should there be an accident transporting our students to these fields in the name of Wando High School and Charleston County School District? Also, academics should be held in great prominence as well. The illusion of practice based on Wando's campus is going to drive practices to either be stacked up on campus, forcing practice late into the evening, or will add time to practice for travel off campus, leaving even less time for our athletes to focus on their studies. We had every opportunity to do this properly. Let's not make a decision that we will regret in 2 years. Please consider keeping the stadium off campus on option 1 as originally planned and do what's best for the students. Thank you for your time.
Next, we have John Muller, William Hamilton, and Ronald Latson.
Members of the board, we've had a lot of robust discussion on this issue since it was first announced back in late January. So I'm not going to belabor a number of points that I've made since that time. So I speak as much to the parents of the Wando students as I speak to anyone else. And let me ask you, what could be more for the kids than having their own stadium on their own campus? And what could be more for the kids than letting the kids who will be attending the Lucy Beckham High School in just a couple short years have their own stadium on their own campus? This can all happen if this board selects option 2. You don't have the issue of having to make sure you have several thousand people on a game night crossing Carolina Park Boulevard in the dark. And the only way that's going to happen safely is if you put a small army of security guards out on the street. That's an expense that is, I think, has been underestimated, and it's going to be substantial. And you're still not going to be able to eliminate the safety risk. If you live in Carolina Park and you drive that traffic circle, you know. And while the survey was overwhelmingly in favor of option 1, let me submit to you that when you compare the number of survey responses to the number of people in Mount Pleasant compared to the people who are actually living in Carolina Park who know that traffic circle, much higher proportion of people opposing this option 1 when you figure the number of people who live in Carolina Park compared to the total population of Mount Pleasant. So here is a chance to do something for the kids. The practice field situation will solve itself. There's a lot of acreage to work with. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's William Hamilton. I'm the Executive Director of Best Friends of Low Country Transit and a 1978 graduate of Wando High School. Last year we won $600 million to improve public transit, but I'm struck by the fact that only 4,000 people go to a Wando High School football game. Wando has 4,000 students, so that means an awful lot of students aren't getting to those games. One of the reasons is where the school is located. Another reason is there's no public transit which reaches either of these locations, and that's something we need to fix. Only 1 in 25 people living east of the Cooper is at a Wando High School football game. Is that the type of glue that can hold our community together? We built a community and a school around automobiles. We've obsessed about traffic. We've worried about parking. And we don't worry enough about our kids that drive too early and get hurt, but everything caters to the automobile. I ask you to think about what a young person attending one of these football games learns when they go. Why do we do this? Why are we spending $20 million on a stadium? It's expensive. Well, they learn patriotism, they learn loyalty, they learn courage, sportsmanship. Winston Churchill said that the Battle of Britain was won on the playing fields of Eton. The men that climbed into those planes and held the Nazis back in World War II learned that playing soccer and rugby in Britain's schools. I ask you what a young person that can't get to one of these football games because their parents don't have a car, because they don't have a car, what they learn on those Friday nights when they're stuck at home in front of the TV. They learn alienation, they learn loneliness, and some of them learn horrible things in video games. I'd remind you what Dylan Roof learned alone on Friday nights playing video games before he went across the street and did the horrible things he did. We can do better. We need to have public transit going to the stadium wherever it ends up. Our schools and facilities need to be arranged in a way that allows our kids to become the citizens that will become the America we can be proud of. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Ron Latson. I'm addressing the bus issue on Grimble Road. First, I'd like to rewind the clock and look back when the giant retailer Walmart decided to build a store on James Island. During that transaction, Walmart addressed the community appropriately. Initially, they wanted a super Walmart. Personally, I preferred a super Walmart, but they listened to the people. The community said no, so they downsized their plans. That was the right thing to do. At this 11th hour, we would like to remind Reverend Mack that his name will be remembered, and he is accountable to listen to and support his constituents. As a child, when I would visit my uncle, the owner of the Latson House restaurant, I would ask my auntie if she remembered who I am or who I was. She would respond, "You're the offspring of Mary Latson." As a kid, I really didn't understand the terminology or connect with the saying. So as I look across this audience today, what I see is 3 generations of people. The first generations are the legacy. We have great products of W. Gresham Medic, doctors, lawyers, educators, bank executives, developers, engineers, nurses, military leaders, politicians, and detectives. Then it's my generation, the second generation, the offsprings. The offsprings, which are lightning rods throughout the community, such as Tamara Latson, Susan Chavers, Denise Cromwell, Rhonda Roper, Donna Richardson, Jerry Frazier, Judge Richard Dean Singleton, Dr. Tony Walker. Then we have the third generation, our children, our future. So as I conclude, school board members, when I was a high school football coach, I would utilize the team concept. Together, everyone accomplishes more. So what I say, put your collaborated thoughts together. Get a different plan. I respectfully understand that you have an obligation to fulfill. But what you may not understand is the history, the legacy, the significance of W. Gresham Machen. Finally, we are only trying to protect and preserve the rights, the lights, and the benefits of our youth and their future, just like our people who have laid down the foundation before us.
Madam Chair, this concludes our public comments for this evening.
It doesn't matter. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Appreciate it. Okay, so the next item on our agenda is the consideration of executive session items from the Committee of the Whole meeting that we had earlier. So we have 4 items to consider. The first item on the agenda is item A1, which is the District 2 Stadium from earlier. So do we have any questions for Mr. Barowie?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
All right, so I've heard both groups, and I understand the concerns of both groups, but I think what we need are facts for everybody. There are some facts that have come out during due diligence that I would like for Mr. Barowie to present to the group so everyone knows what we're faced with and what are the facts that we're going to look at in making this decision.
And Ms. Barowie, there were a couple things that came up that people are concerned about, like example, noise and loss of practice fields. Can you address that, please, too?
Yes, ma'am. I'd actually like to open with some clarification on some of the comments were made, both for the audience and for the board members. I guess the first question related...
Hold on for a sec while people are
Yes.
leaving so that everybody can hear. Yeah. As much as you project, I was going to say as loud as you are. No. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Option one, option two.
I know. We'll see.
Thank you.
Okay. The first point I want to make is about the practice fields. If we think that nobody is getting iced out now, nobody will get iced out in the future. So there are 5 fields at Wando. 1 is used by the band, and there are 4 practice fields. During construction, if option 2 is chosen, 1 field will be down. That's the one inside the track. The other fields will remain. Across the street, Park Avenue, Carolina Park Elementary School is finishing. That field is being developed as a practice field. So there's 1 additional field. Lang Middle School field is being developed as a practice field as well. So both of those fields will be available next spring. Related to travel, let me add, the team right now, the soccer team, travels to Moultrie by their own choice every day. So Wando chooses to travel to practice at certain locations, for soccer. But so there will be 2 additional fields provided while 1 field is down. As far as the construction noise on that field, I'll point out that we do construction at school sites every year. And just as that comment was being made, I recognize that in this past year, we did construction at 2 sites, one within Burke High School. Burke High School during the school year, with hammering noise and things, and adjustments were made during testing, during key points to work around that. Springfield Elementary School was built right next to the new school, was right next to the old school. So there are examples where education has occurred successfully around existing construction sites safely with certain scheduling to accommodate that fact. Related to the town of Mount Pleasant, a comment was made that Mount Pleasant, or an individual in Mount Pleasant, supports the Board of Zoning Appeals requirements that will be imposed if we choose option 1. Option 1 is, of course, Carolina Park. We have 2 variances we have to ask for that Board of Zoning Appeals. One is the right-of-way. The town requires that stadium parking must be within 80 foot of a facility. Parking must be within 80 foot of the facility. That right-of-way at Carolina Park Boulevard is 100 feet. So we have to get a variance on that, and we have to get a variance on the light poles. I've been told in my meetings that that will not be approved. That, again, it's subjective, it's a comment, but that is a recommendation I made, that is a potential problem.
But it's a BOZA
It's a
thing, not a
BOZA
town
process, not a...
He told me that they were never asked. Yep.
So,
Okay.
I have one question.
He's
though.
not on BOZA.
In the town of Mount Pleasant, is BOZA subject to the council, or are they independent?
They are independent. They're not subject to the council.
Municipalities.
Okay, okay. So they could make that decision or not, and Mount Pleasant City Council would have no jurisdiction, no authorization to have them change it, alter it in any way?
Correct.
Okay.
The last thing I wanted to mention was related to other sites and other alternatives. There is a site, although it wasn't mentioned tonight, on Faison Road. Why not build on Faison Road? Faison Road was one of the initial sites that was developed by staff. It was zeroed out before it got to the board for approval because of the cost, and the same variance related to the light poles. The cost, we'd have to buy 25 acres at Faison Road, where at Carolina Park, we only have to buy 14 acres because we have parking at Wando High School. So we're buying more land, and then on top of that, Faison Road is only a 2-lane road. And so improvements would more than likely be required, and I've included a cost estimate with that as well. So the cost of Faison Road pushed it well behind Carolina Park. Those were the comments that I wanted to address specific to the comments that were made.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think the public needs to know the difference in cost. My understanding of how this went down was we had the two options, or the original option was the one across the street, purchasing property from Carolina Park, and that you put that under contract with our approval, and then did your due diligence phase, and you've discovered things in due diligence that have made that a more difficult scenario for us to move forward because of price. Can you speak to that?
Yes, sir. So within the Carolina Park option, we have to develop that site that is consistent with Carolina Park, well above the estimated cost of building at any one of our other sites. So that would include the road around the stadium, which wasn't anticipated, increased vegetation, a lot more trees than were anticipated, and more fine work with bricklaying rather than just straight up concrete. Those would be required within the Carolina Park site. Also during the due diligence, we identified soil that had to be removed and replaced. That was something also that wasn't included in the initial estimate. So the cost has increased for the Carolina Park site.
All right, let me ask a leading question then. All right, so the cost escalation, because we were talking about pennies, I think you guys need to know what it is. I mean, the difference is an extra 2.924, so $2,924,000 and change for construction escalation. I guess that's the mucking stuff that you're
No,
talking about?
the
Okay.
construction escalation is related to the items that we discovered during our visit to stadiums around the state. Items that they included in their stadiums that we didn't have anticipate in our original estimate. Things that we believe that the students and the fans deserve.
Okay.
And for making it, since it's a shared stadium, so it has stuff that specific to
Applies to both
Beckham and
schools.
specific to Wando.
Right, both
So like what?
lighting and other things that would be tailored to the school colors, whichever team is playing there.
Okay, so the purchase price, the land purchase, can I say that? Anyone have a problem with me saying what the
John?
contract price was?
Can we say?
Look at
Make it
John.
legal?
Legal?
No.
I can't say what the purchase price was?
Okay.
Okay, all right, so then we've got,
Is that because we haven't purchased we don't own the property?
We haven't closed on it.
Right.
We have not
We don't
closed on
own
the
it,
property
okay.
yet.
Okay.
all right, so, and then we've got a developer construction, I guess this is requirements of $3,828,000 in addition. So can you tell us what that is?
That's what he just mentioned.
No, I said the $2,924,000.
Construction
Escalation is across
escalation-
all three factors.
Construction escalation is related to additional items we believe are needed in the final product, no matter where the stadium is.
No matter where it goes.
The cost related to the development requirements is to conform with the way Carolina Park looks.
The road, the
Where's the
trees.
mucking?
The mucking is in the developer construction requirements. Even though that isn't required by the developer, it's site-specific.
Okay, so would it be fair for me to say, and I'm just going to ballpark this one's $6.8 million over what our initial amount was? Is that correct? But adding to?
Yes, sir.
Okay, which is above the purchase price. So I think the public needs to know that because we're answerable to the taxpayer, that this is $6.8 million more than was expected. Now, my question would be with respect to what's called option 2 on Wando, what would we also have to do the mucking there?
So we have, in
And
that
maybe
option, we
define
have the
mucking, so
same,
it's one of that, no, I don't, I mean.
same items we would like to put in any stadium, so that's a significant portion of the cost. The brick wraparounds, the brick platforms on the bleacher levels, between the two levels, not just straight metal. The personalization for the home teams. An entrance that allows pedestrians to pass through smoothly in a covered position to allow space for the Boosters Club, et cetera. Things that we saw at other stadiums around the state of South Carolina that we believe are suitable for our kids. We included in that estimate additional site work. We haven't finalized those numbers yet. We're doing the soil samples, we're doing the analysis to determine whether or not that's fully needed, but I've given you the worst-case scenario.
Okay.
But somebody said we'd get a run-of-the-mill stadium with option 2. The plan is, in either option, the stadium itself would be the same.
Yes, ma'am.
So we get the same size, the same look, the stadium itself is the same.
Tailored
whether
for that location, right?
At Wando campus or at the Carolina Park
Okay.
site.
Now, I see where it says original construction estimate, under the Carolina Park option, it has $14.2 million, but then under the Wando, which would be option 2, it says original construction estimate of $8.1 million. What would explain the difference in construction cost?
The difference was related to building it around a site that was already relatively prepared. So it's got the lighting there already.
Okay.
The site utilities are there already. We don't have to run site utilities there. So that's the difference between the construction cost at the original construction estimate at Wando and the construction at another site. That 14.2 was developed before Carolina Park came along. That was a generic number placed in in the budget.
Okay, and what are our timeframes? Because one of the speakers raised whether we should take a breather to see if there's some other option out there.
So if the board chooses not to make a decision tonight to allow for continued dialogue, we will not be complete by August of 18. So if we choose to do nothing tonight, we do not have an ability to play football next fall at Old Wando because that site is part of the new campus for Lucy Beckham. So we'd have to find a place for Wando High School to play football in the fall of 18.
Okay.
Some kind of, we'd have to play.
We'd have to rent, we'd either have to rent or transport to another site. Either way, they'll have to go somewhere else. It's probably too late, although it's still within the art of the possible. It's probably too late, but we could potentially put temporary bleachers on Wando High School campus. I mean, we've looked at that before. I don't know at this point they can turn those around in a year. I would say they probably could for the price. Those types of bleachers are used all the time for the US Open, for Macy's Parade, et cetera, in large volumes. We would just have to pay for that.
Now, I have real concerns about the children traveling for either for their practices for sports or for PE.
So what about PE, right?
So PE, during construction, the track area will be blocked off. There are still 4 practice fields on the Wando campus. Right? The track would be usable, and in fact, that is one of the drawbacks. The track would have to practice and compete at Park Avenue, at Park West during that year of construction. So that is another drawback I didn't mention earlier that would occur with option 2.
But have you talked with, has the town of Mount Pleasant said they've agreed that we can use Park West for the track?
Yes, they have.
And it's within their purview to make that.
They have. I mean, Gary's already gotten that approved. And then what about, has you talked to Coach Hayes? I mean, I know I talked to Coach Hayes after the meeting last week, and he felt like the school could accommodate either option and that they wouldn't be giving up practice fields. And in fact, there would be some benefit for Wando because of having the stadium right there and being able to use the field because of the turf. But also, I'm assuming y'all have talked about the PE option and that they'd be able to accommodate that.
We didn't have specific discussions about PE, but I would suspect that he's had those conversations internally. I could go back and double check. But again, there still remains several practice fields on the Wando campus while that track is closed in option 2.
Okay, and we talked about this at all of our meetings, but can you please clarify what the district's policy for all of our board members too, about stadiums being leased out?
So right now, well, to date, we've got 3 6,000-seat stadiums, West Ashley, James Island Charter, and Old Wando. None of those sites have ever been requested to be used for rock concerts or anything substantial yet. And I would suspect it would continue. And in addition to that, right now in the facilities use guide, that stadium is not in there to be used. So we don't offer that stadium. We wouldn't offer the stadium for use unless the board came back and said, add it to the list.
So our current board policy doesn't, because we did the facility use policy and we do not.
I was going to say it wouldn't include the new Wando unless it was added, the new Wando High School. Is Sean still here? Sean would know if Old Wando and West Ashley are in there or not.
And it doesn't.
I just know there's been no requests.
Right, and it doesn't allow, we don't allow alcohol or
No
smoking.
alcohol or smoking on school grounds.
Yeah.
Sean Hughes. So, West Ashley High School and Old Wando Stadium, the 2 stadiums, are they in the facility use guide for use?
We don't list the stadiums individually, we list the schools.
So somebody could ask to use it and rent.
West Ashley High before for a remote viewing of a production they put on. They could utilize it.
Okay, so the 2 stadiums could be used right now through a facility use agreement.
So I got a question, or do you have another?
Go ahead.
All right, so I think I've been pretty I guess I'm upfront about the idea. What I'd like to see something on the Beckham campus that allows the children, if they want to participate in some of the varsity football, where I'm not completely with the keeping the old concrete. I would like to see something there. I would like, because I know that question was out there about whether the children would be allowed to have sports on their Beckham campus. How many fields are we planning for Beckham, and what is kind of the thought there, just to kind of give that out there, because that was a question someone asked.
So the first overarching comment I'll make
Right.
is that although I've heard a number of times that the old Wando Stadium has withheld hurricanes, et cetera, I will not put my professional engineer stamp on those to last another 50 years. I believe they're seismically unsound. I think to repair them would be millions and millions of dollars, and therefore they need to be replaced. That's my thought with the existing bleachers that are there. That said, the field itself is in great shape. It's a great field.
Mm-hmm.
Our vision is to take the visitors' bleachers, more than 1,500 seats, and move those over to the home side. So that field itself will continue to be used. There'll be a track placed around it before the bleachers are put in. So that'll be a track and field and a competitive field. In addition to that, we're planning 2 practice fields on Lucy Beckham. So they'll have 3 rectangular fields total.
All right, and just for all my fellow board members, I'm interested in pushing it a little further than that. I'd like to see something more substantial for our children, just because of the issues we have here. And I do know that my friend Gary Santos has been a big advocate for that and having that opportunity for the families of Mount Pleasant, and I do appreciate that.
I just have one number for you, 6 high schools in North Charleston.
I know, I know that's a big deal too, exactly.
Yeah, $5 million here and there adds up when you've got 6.
Yeah.
And I just want to say one thing to folks who've talked to us. I want to make sure everybody knows we've worked really hard and collaborated with the town of Mount Pleasant. We've had a number of meetings. I mean, the reason that we're going to have 1,500 seats at Beckham is because Gary pushed for it. Gary Santos pushed for it. We were going to have 400 seats. I feel like we really have worked hard on proper due diligence. I think in either option, we're going to have to deal with traffic at Wando, because in option 1, we utilize the Wando parking there. That's why, so we'll have to deal with parking, with traffic either way. I think, and I hate to think that in either option there'll be vandalism. I don't think I don't want to even think about making a decision based on that. I don't think we see a lot of that. And I think we've got to make a decision. Yes, that's number 1 for the kids. Also, we had a budget that was approved in the referendum in 2014. And although Chris and I live in Mount Pleasant, there are 9 of us represent the whole county, and so we've got to support what was approved across the county and represent the entire county. So we've got to make a decision that way. So what other questions you guys have, Reverend Collins?
Yeah, I may have missed it, Jeff. The development construction that Chris spoke about, why isn't there cost at the Wando site? Was that 0 there?
Right, because, which one? Because that's for the developer, the Carolina Park developer. That's what we have to do to make it look like the Carolina Park development. We wouldn't have to do that at Wando. Those are things like trees and buffers and a road. We wouldn't have to do that at Wando.
Did we not know that? No, that's a huge figure.
Yeah, that's about $4 million.
We only knew that we had to conform. We didn't have the number of trees added up. We have our budget that goes in to set the standard across the district, and we sat down and worked back and forth with them to try to minimize that, but they have a standard to maintain along that boulevard.
It almost seems like they want to run us away. I mean, that's a lot of money.
What else, Reverend Collins?
So I'm just confirming then, so the Wando site basically is half the money to build that, as opposed to Carolina Park. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Accurate? With a surplus of $6.7 million
Or a difference.
that I could take to North Charleston.
Well, see, that's my thing. If you tell me I can use that for Beckham, I'm...
Well, and I do think that while the idea of traveling for practice and stuff may seem unusual in certain part of the areas, we don't have a football field at Stahl. we don't have practice fields at Stahl. They have to go to the old high school that's the new primary school, and we dealt with the same thing with Military Magnet. And while Academic Magnet doesn't have to go far, they are playing on city property. So that, as a county, it's not alien to have students traveling for those purposes.
Right.
And I guess the point for me is really not so much the savings over one or the other, is that we have X number of years or X number of dollars. That's how a 1 cent sales tax works. Either the dollars get to the end first or the number of years get to the end first. So any extra money is inside that, and I don't know which one of those 31 projects we want to take more money away from. And that's the concern, because it's totally separate money. It's 1 cent sales tax money. And if it's building this building, that means it's not building that building. And that's a concern, is really the cost. Is there any wiggle room on the excess cost at Carolina Park above our expected?
There's not.
None.
No, we don't believe that we believe that numbers are finalized enough that those are true numbers.
And so spending that much extra, which is $6 million, is dropping $6 million off the bottom of somebody else's project.
Correct.
Or borrowing against the 8%.
Okay.
Yep, Michael.
I don't want to simplify this. So let me ask a couple of questions. My first question is, we had one of our community members came up and spoke about the use of a shared facility being housed at a current school. So what accommodations, if any, will the district do to make the Lucy Beckham students feel at home? Let's say, hypothetically, that the stadium is built at Wando's site. What will the district do to accommodate the students of Lucy Beckham to make it feel like it's their home field, when in actuality it's not on their home campus?
So entering the campus itself, I can't do a lot, but once they get into that parking lot and walk up toward that stadium, I truly think that they'll believe that it's their field from the beginning, walking on, whether it's through the use of the team colors or appropriate banners, the boosters information that's on the signs, on the walls, will be all reflective of that home team, whether it be Beckham or Wando. So from within the fence line of that new stadium, wherever it's at, it'll look like their home field.
Okay. Can you speak to the notion of a shared stadium concept? I know historically, to Cindy's point, North Charleston High School is a shared stadium. North Charleston High School shares their stadium with Military Magnet. They alternate home and away games because Military Magnet does not have a home field. Just recently, Jeff, as you know, you put some property behind the school which belonged to the city of North Charleston, and we did some things, and we were able to give them a practice facility. But Military Magnet nor does Academic Magnet have a home facility. So can you speak a little bit about the concept of a shared stadium? Because I heard someone else mention about it shouldn't be a foreign concept to not only basically do away with the shared stadium concept and have a school stadium for Wando High and also a stadium for Lucy Beckham. So I know I asked you a couple of things, but in the second part of that question, the Lucy Beckham versus the Wando, if you could give us somewhat of a rough estimate, if you have it, about the actual cost of having two stadiums, number one, and then address the issue of a shared stadium concept.
So I would say that to the first point, and a comment was made about how hard it will be to schedule. It'll be a scheduling, they'll have to work very hard to schedule it. But I have seen examples of regional stadiums used by 4 different teams already. So it is possible. The city that I grew up next to had it when I was a kid, and it's still 4 high schools using the same stadium. So it's not beyond the art of the possible. I've already had some initial discussions with Coach Hayes about how things would be scheduled. Even scheduling Wando games in the spring would be a challenge because you want to accommodate the track team out in that stadium. So the concept is that the field next to the track will be developed to be a competitive field, and when the soccer or lacrosse team comes in, JV and varsity play back-to-back, the JV game would be on that side field while track is practicing. Track practice finishes, the varsity goes into the stadium to play. So even scheduling things like that can be done, and that's something that we've discussed with Coach Hayes as well. By developing the 1,500-seat field at Lucy Beckham, I suspect a lot of those type games for Lucy Beckham would be played down there. We'll leave it up to the schedulers to figure that out. So that's the one thing related to the scheduling conflicts or scheduling challenges. And I've lost sight of the last two
The other
questions.
one was the cost of having potential 2 stadiums to support each school.
So that was the rationale. Again, it predated me when the regional stadium concept came up, but the concept was put in place, my understanding was, to minimize the cost to the district while still providing a quality athletic complex for all of those varsity athletes that use a stadium. If we were to build a stadium full stadium of 6,000 seats at 2 high schools in Mount Pleasant and at 4 high schools in North Charleston, you got to take into account a lot of things, because loss of practice fields, is a site prepared for a stadium. But there is a significant multi-million-dollar difference between the concept that this board approved with 2 shared stadiums, vice the stadium at each location.
And I'm assuming you mentioned the term 6 stadiums because it would be unfair to have 2 stadiums at the 2 schools in Mount Pleasant and not to do the same thing for other schools in North Charleston who currently don't have a facility, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Ms. Kate?
Yep, Kevin?
Yeah, it's just a particular statement. You know, when I was a younger guy, I lived in Columbia. I was a deputy sheriff up there, and also worked for the city of Columbia. In Richland County, Richland 1, Richland 2, they have a shared stadium concept. It was very unique and different to me. I'd never seen it before, but it works. And, you know, it saves millions of dollars. What we have to realize, and I say this to my Mount Pleasant friends, we have to understand that we share this county together. You have North Charleston. I have friends West Ashley that can ring my phone off the hook. And our tax base is shared across the board. We want to do what's best for you. If you need more time to sit down and come down with a concept, I support that. But I think we really need to take our time and look at it and see how it can best fit everyone. We're not going to satisfy everyone, but we need to look at the parents and their children and what their best needs are. When I was at the meeting the other day in Mount Pleasant, a lot of people at that meeting were retired people. And the biggest thing they hollered about was they wanted to pull out from the district. Well, I had a good discussion with my mayor in North Charleston, and he actually texted me a response.
Exactly.
We're good with that. We
And he
got
basically
Boeing.
said, you know, we don't understand that North Charleston financial economic base drives the whole county. Boeing, Daimler Chrysler, you name it, is a tax base that helps Mount Pleasant up. Mount Pleasant basically is mostly home ownership, and you don't get any taxes for that to go toward the school district. So we want to be good neighbors and work with you. Just tell us what we need to do as Chris Stobbs and others are working on it. Gary Santos, a good friend I've known for years, we'll work with you, but it has to be equitable to the district.
So I have a question. So we approved to purchase and develop Carolina Park in January, and we approved looking for the property to build a stadium in 2014. Are we out of time, or are we out of dirt available in Mount Pleasant?
We worked extremely hard to find any potential places to buy land. We worked very hard with the town of Mount Pleasant to utilize their land. These were the best alternatives that we had.
So it's called, I mean, if, on the time part, if we don't do something this month, then we have to look at an alternative option. We
For a
won't
year.
have a stadium.
Well, and
for-
it's complicated by the construction of the other high school.
Right.
I mean, it's not like us, because we're pushed back behind y'all, so whatever it takes, whatever time y'all take.
Right,
I'm
because-
pushed back, but we're not stuck with a school building
Right,
issue
because
like
we've
y'all
been
are.
working, I mean, for a whole year before that, Chris and Jeff and I had been working with, on other options before we even came to you guys in
And I
January.
think everybody agrees, there's not a whole lot of dirt sitting around in
Right.
Mount
No.
Pleasant.
In Charleston County, period.
Yeah.
Right, and then and then you have to worry about the cost factor.
All right,
I want to ask a question. Are you aware in your experience of a scenario where someone has taken an old stadium and shored it up and what it might cost?
No, sir.
Okay. We do have a member of the Mount Pleasant Town Council here who may have something he can enlighten us on the at least perspective of the town. I'd like to hear from Mr. Santos, if that's all right with my fellow board members.
Whatever y'all get, I'm getting times 6,
minutes,
so by
2
all
minutes.
means, give him the microphone.
Mr. Santos, would you like to come?
Where's this anytime 6, right?
Let him talk, he's on camera.
Remember, I can't remember the last time I've seen a Mount Pleasant City
2
Council
minutes,
member on
Gary.
TV.
I will say that
but,
Mr. Santos cares for our children, and he's done a lot for recreation and for the children of our county.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'll be very brief. Just talking about the Lucy Beckham Stadium, we keep talking about, tearing it down and doing this and that. That stadium, as he mentioned, has been through multiple hurricanes. It's very strong. It just went through Matthew with no issues. It does need a makeover. I mean, it needs railings so people can go up and down the stadium and elderly folks can go up and down the stadium. Certainly the bathrooms need to be redone, but that's a minimal type cost to keep 2 stadiums. I mean, the idea is you got to give the kids at Lucy Beckham their own identity like everybody else wants. It's there. We're not asking for 2 stadiums. We have a stadium. We'd like to keep that one. The other one, the only stadium that we're asking for is the one to be built out at Wando. That's all. And like I said, that thing has been around for a long time. As Jeff said, it's one of the best fields in Mount Pleasant. And we're not asking to tear it down. I'm just asking to put a little bit of money into it, give it a little bit of a facelift to make it safer for the people who are going there. If you look at it, you look at the bands, that's a perfect stadium for band competition because you're so high up and you're looking down. Same with coaches. I coached for 37 years. I love being up at the top of that press box and looking down rather than looking across to be able to watch the games, to be able to plan what plays I'm going to call and things like that. So that stadium is a great stadium. It just needs a little bit of repairs, a little facelift, and that's it. So we're not asking for millions of dollars for Lucy Beckham Field. We're just asking to do a little bit of a facelift and let those kids have their field there. I'm willing to answer any questions if y'all have any.
Question.
Yes, sir.
For Jeff to you. Jeff, in construction with concrete, you have to do, I guess, like seismic studies on has it been done at that stadium yet?
So we'd have to pay for one.
So,
No.
can we find out what the cost of what? 15,000?
But that's
Madam
compared to this
Chair.
millions of dollars.
I absolutely, because everything you say, I can say times Garrett, times North Charleston High School. Y'all pony up the money for me to buy land so I don't have to lose my football field. I'm with you 100%. But tonight, we've got to make a decision about the Carolina Park versus the Wando
Right.
location, and we
That's
need to
it.
be very clear that we can't have that decision preclude or guarantee any secondary decision. Until we start
And that's
getting
fine.
it right.
Y'all were talking about it. I just wanted
Right.
to.
No, I understand
Come up and
completely. Like I
answer.
said, the more I can get you on camera, the
Right.
more I start getting new stuff.
Well,
So
we're
talk
trying
away.
to save you money, honestly. We don't want another stadium. 2 stadiums. We got one. We just want to keep that one.
But, Madam Chair, I think that it's probably time to at least call a vote so we can start figuring out where
Michael's
we
got a
are.
question, and then the question's been called.
I appreciate his candor, and I haven't had the ability to attend the community meetings about this particular conversation. But of all of the folks who came to see us tonight to speak, he was the only one who just recently addressed another option, which was to seemingly, to the best of our ability, retrofit the current Wando Stadium, and seeing exactly what that might cost. And then at the same time, to his words, and then build a stadium on the Wando site. So my question is, since that's the first time I've heard that, is that something that we can do, number one? And number two, Jeff, as you come to the lectern, how long would it take? Because you mentioned a delay potentially tonight might push the end construction beyond August 2018. So my question to you is, if we were to take a look at what it would cost to potentially retrofit, facelift the current Wando Stadium, which will be at the Lucy Beckham site, how long would it take for us to get any information on that?
Can we use 1 cent money on 2 stadiums?
Well, I'm not even asking about the 1 cent money. I'm just asking, if we were to look at that as an option, how long do you think it would take, a rough estimate of getting back the, what did you call it, the?
Seismic
The
analysis.
seismic analysis.
And it'd
on
probably
that?
be a little bit more than a facelift, because we want you to be able to feel
45 days, 60
comfortable.
days?
Right,
60 days?
about 60 days. So if that were to happen, number one, how long would that delay the August 2018 completion of a stadium, no matter where we were to place it?
The stadium will not be complete in time for the next fall season. So if you delay the decision, we go do a seismic analysis, we don't have a year to build a new stadium.
Okay.
So next year, we'll need a place to play football. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second point I'd like to make in response to the comments, we have looked at alternatives to keeping that stadium. We haven't done the seismic analysis. I'm telling you, I think it'll be extremely high. That will have to be brought in front of the board to find the funds to do that. In addition to that, we had planned to build a track around that field in the place of those concrete bleachers. So now the track goes on to one of the practice fields, eliminating one practice field. So they're down a practice field by going this option. Now, it's been brought up by a number of other folks about doing underground storage for retention. So don't put the ponds there that you have to build.
Yeah, right.
Let's do underground storage. That's in the millions as well. So either way, I'm bringing you $1 million. I'm bringing you millions of dollars in bills.
And on
with that
top
option.
of that, although he spoke of it lightheartedly, the goal would not to be to simply give a field a facelift, because ultimately we want state-of-the-art facilities.
Yes, it has to be safe.
Just like we want state-of-the-art schools for all of our children. So it wouldn't necessarily be a minimal facelift. It would be bringing it to code, to current, so it can compete with other.
Somebody else, if you would not allow me to bring that stadium to code, somebody else in here would have to sign off on that. I
Right.
would not
I
take the
think we all agree with
responsibility.
that. I think it
of
needs
not
to be
repairing
safe.
that the way it ought to be repaired.
Exactly.
Okay, so somebody's called the question on this.
Well, do we have a motion on the
I
floor?
have a motion.
Okay.
My motion is that we approve the termination of the purchase of the parcel in constituent District 2 and build the east of the Cooper Shared Stadium on the Wando High School campus. That's my motion. Do I have a second?
You shouldn't
That
make a
doesn't
motion.
preclude us from doing
Let
anything.
someone else make your motion, be better off.
That doesn't preclude us from doing anything at Beckham.
I don't know, this is a tough one.
Well, and I think I've
Because of
told
the
Jeff
money.
this,
Yeah.
I voted to buy property with a tax ID number, knowing exactly what I was doing. And all of us did. We
Did you
had
know
the package.
Did we know the price?
And we've spent 6 months defending that purchase. So it is, there's no part of me that wants to have to go back now, except I gotta believe that if Jeff is telling us that it's gonna cost $6 million more than we thought, and we're all sitting on the same we've all got the same list. It starts at number 1,
It goes
and
down.
it ends at 525 million or 36 if we happen to get cheaper. I don't know how I can justify the $6 million difference, and that's the sticking point for me.
Yeah.
So our option, I will second the motion to see where the vote goes, but we'll go from there.
Okay, so we have a motion, which I made, and we have a second. Do we have any other
And
questions?
this is a two-part motion, terminate and place?
I mean, I just did it, I do it
Okay,
as one.
okay,
but-
no, that's why I just want to make
Yeah.
sure, okay.
And that doesn't preclude us from doing something else that you've been talking about. So do we have any other questions?
One question, Madam Chair.
Yes, Reverend Mack, and then Mr. Miller.
So I've sat here quietly listening all night long, and we've spent almost 40 minutes talking about
Well, and 3 years and 6 months.
the
but
stadium.
nobody's counting.
So I have to probably go back to listening to all of the comments to just one more opportunity from what Mr. Miller just stated a minute ago, just citing whether or not we should take one more stab at looking at any other viable options before making a decision tonight, and how much of a delay that would be, and how much chaos it would really cause in the scheduling of the different activities. It sounds like we have an option to rent a field or rent bleachers or whatever the case may be, if we have to take 60 days to come up with an analysis of whether or not the current stadium is viable or can be facelift, restored, or whatever the case may be, which will push us out another 60 days. I guess, I am not convinced on either side, on either option at this current moment, but I feel it out just from what I'm hearing tonight from various community members about the options 1 versus 2. Could we possibly then maybe, and I'm just one, go back and take a look one more time just to make sure that we have covered all grounds and every angle in making sure that this decision we're making tonight is the right one. And
So,
that's,
I have a question for that.
Okay, but let me just make a point.
hang on,
The only way, though.
hang on,
Right, right.
I got you.
But the only way that I understand what you're saying, and I've been the one that has said so when we got elected in November of 2014, we started working on this. So I know it seems
Yes,
like you
we did.
guys haven't. So we've been working on this with the town and with Jeff since then. The only way, irregardless of whatever we do at Beckham, we still have to build a stadium.
Right.
And if the only option for us to do anything at Beckham, to potentially whether we keep that concrete or do something else, is if we go with option 2. If we go with option 1, we are going to have to take money from someplace else, $6 million from someplace else to do it.
That's a
And
lot
we're
of money.
really, you guys are going to never, you now always say Mount Pleasant gets everything and you're not going to give us any more money for Beckham. If we do option 2,
No, we don't say that now.
yes, you do.
Oh, I say that.
Don't say that.
So that Mount Pleasant get everything?
I don't say that.
If we do option 2, we save money, and we might be able to convince you, and we might be able to convince Jeff to spend the money to do what's right for everybody at Beckham, whether it's to keep the concrete or not. I don't think we can make that decision tonight, but we certainly cannot, I'll fight tooth and nail that we can't do anything more at Beckham if we go with option 1, because we won't have, that's millions and millions and millions more dollars you're going to be asking for, and it just doesn't make sense.
So I
And
think-
I promise you, when they first started talking about this, that way more people than were in this room were in panic mode about not having a stadium. And I had somebody come up to me on Wednesday and said, where is my homecoming going to be, a football player? And I promise you, it's going to bother that football player he either wants a new stadium or he wants the stadium that's at Beckham or
Or the
Old
kids in
Wando
Military
now.
Magnet
He doesn't
Center.
want that stadium to be on Daniel Island that we rent.
I guess my question is, because I know where you're at, Reverend Mack. I think we asked this in the beginning. The regional stadium, the stadium, cannot fit at Lucy Beckham.
Right.
Not if we want to have a school.
No.
Right, so that, right.
Yeah.
So
But wait a
that
minute,
precludes,
aren't football fields more important than school buildings? I mean,
so that precludes, that
Yes.
takes the Lucy Beckham conversation off of
The
the
table,
table
right.
regarding
Tonight.
location of the regional
For
stadium.
the regional stadium, correct.
Right.
And again, I'm not happy about ever having to invest as much energy in something for 6 months and then get where we are. But it's not just delaying that football field. It's delaying the next football field.
Right.
It's delaying, if we do this and start shoring up around Lucy Beckham, it's delaying that construction, which
That
means it's
school.
delaying the next construction. It doesn't catch up at the end of that.
No.
So we always get to the end of these multi-year conversations where I can pull out no less than 30 Friday updates that we've gotten and pull the tape on no less than 4 votes on this. And we're at the point where we think maybe we didn't do enough. But she's right. It's either we make a decision or we agree to delay, but we're not delaying the Wando Stadium. We're delaying
Let me add
construction. We're delaying the next set of construction. We're delaying wave 3. This all does not happen in a silo.
All right, what this comes down to, looking at these numbers, is in order for us to do the Carolina Park option, which is option 1, it's going to cost us $25.5 million.
You said 26.
All right, so
Yeah,
what's a half
26.
million here and
Right, so $25.5 million. That's a lot of money. The Wando option, option 2. So that was option 1. So then option 2, I guess, the Wando one, the one behind Wando, is 13 million. So basically, we're doubling the price. That's a whole lot of money. That's a big number when it comes to our kids. And our kids are valuable, but that's a big number right there. The only thing that I can think right now is I think we need to explore by starting that study process to find out about the Beckham School, because if we can find a solution at the Beckham School to allow them the capacity to do something there, it takes a lot of the burden that we've heard from the parents off of Wando North. I mean, that's the issue. And I would ask that if we, with this motion that's been made, that we would amend it to say that we're also authorizing some studies to be done about what it would cost to retrofit the stadium or to find something suitable that would accommodate the students at Beckham so that they could, if they wanted to, play varsity sports.
We'd have to vote, because I'm not going to agree to combine those two things, because again, saving money in North Charleston doesn't mean I get a bigger something in North Charleston. We can't start spending money we haven't saved yet. I am more than willing to authorize the district to do so,
The study.
but in a separate motion. It is not because we're voting on a particular location, we now can do stuff at Lucy Beckham. We either do stuff at Lucy Beckham because as a district we can afford it, it's consistent and fair across the district, and et cetera. But we're not going to do something at Lucy Beckham because we placed the location of the regional stadium. So
I
we
respect
can't tie
that. My
those two.
concern is that these kids have waited 17 years for a stadium, so it's.
Stall.
Wait,
They're playing in the primary school, for God's sake.
And I don't agree to that change either, but we need to let staff come back with what the study would cost and then make that motion.
Ms. Darby?
Yeah, Reverend Collins.
Thank you for your.
And I will bring that to the August meeting.
What troubles me is that when you add the Lucy Beckham School to the scene, the stadium, but then complicate the whole matter all the more. Because in essence, what we're doing, instead of choosing option 1 or 2, we're trying to decide on all of a sudden 2 stadiums at one time in one motion. And that's going to take more than $25 million, 26. You're talking now, talking $30 to $35 million. And I don't want to tie the 2 together. We're here to look at options 1 or 2, and I don't think we're really ready to decide on 1 or 2 tonight. But I feel tonight if we vote for option 2, and prove it, that tomorrow morning, before I get out of my seat good, my email's gonna be flying off the hook again, all week long until we can meet again, or a month rather, until August. But I don't feel like the crowd is ready for that. But neither option 1.
So then we have a motion on the floor and it can fail.
Wait a minute. The motion may very well pass, I don't know. But all I'm saying is I can tell that we're gonna be bombarded again. I don't know if it's gonna hurt anything to go back next week or this week and talk with the present people again and really explain to them the finances, what we're facing with, how much money we have, and really talk with them.
We've had lots, I understand that, but when
I
you're
don't think they understand though.
when you're on.
And I know you met last week.
No, we've met lots of that. We've been meeting all spring.
But now we have the numbers in place and.
Yep. Mr. Hollenshed?
This is my problem here, that we're not gonna satisfy the crowd with a
We're
rest
not
of tonight.
gonna, we don't satisfy the crowd. We called the question. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Mr. Hollenshed, and then we're gonna vote. We called the question already a couple times.
So what is your motion? Oh, you're gonna, after you vote, okay.
I'll read it. Mr. Hollenshed?
To be honest with you, I've been in construction a long time. I watched how areas develop in North Charleston. We're very strapped for land now because everything is moving that way. And let me talking. And so basically, I can tell you now in Mount Pleasant, you're experiencing the same thing with the growth trend. It makes more sense, and I'm not comfortable in voting on either or option, to be honest with you, but it makes more sense. Mount Pleasant is growing out toward McClellanville, Ondal. I'm sorry, thank you. And there's plenty of land out that way. Why don't you build it further out and build what you want? Then try to put in an area like Carolina Park or Wando that's going to get congested later on. Then we're going to be back at it again because we have no room. So we really we're always in a haste to do something.
That's right, always.
And we worry about construction costs. And we worry about what we want. And we don't do what's probable or practical for growth. So again, I think we need to reevaluate this and stop doing the political jargon back and forth to try to be astute up here. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion on the floor
Read it again.
to approve the termination of the purchase of the parcel in constituent District 2 and build the East of the Cooper Shared Stadium on the Wando High School campus. We have a motion and a second.
I don't.
Mr. Hollenshed, how do you vote?
No.
Ms. Coates?
Yes.
Reverend Collins?
No.
Mr.
The
Miller?
conversation started in 2014, and Chris is now leaning over to ask, what's the
That's
question?
what I want to make sure, because before you guys were here earlier today, we were doing all these negative reverse backwards motions.
No, you-
Say what?
Approve the termination of the purchase of the parcel in D2.
Okay.
And build the East of the Cooper Shared Stadium on the Wando High School campus. So, Mr. Miller?
Just come back to him.
No.
Mr. Stobbs?
School board again. Do what you want.
No.
Reverend Mack?
You know, I really would like for the study of the other options to be done before we make a final decision. So having said that, I will say no.
Mr. Harvey?
So Reverend Mack, you're voting no? I vote yes, and Mr. Miller, you asked to change your vote?
I did.
So you vote yes?
I do.
Okay, the motion fails.
Madam Chair,
Yep.
it's possible, within 30 days, that Jeff can meet with the constituents out in Mount Pleasant, and along with some, no, we have to take some time and really explore other options that may be on the table. Having a homecoming at the old Wando site for one more year ain't gonna kill nothing. But getting it right means more to the constituents than anything else, because I'm telling you, just as it was less than 8 years ago in Mount Pleasant, as a matter of fact, I'll give you a good example. It's growing so fast that in 2 or 3 years, that area's gonna be even congested even more. You heard what the people are saying about the development in Carolina Park. So let's look out a little further. We may get somebody to either donate or work a deal.
Right, I understand, guys, but we've been working on this since November 2014.
Ain't gonna hurt to work a little bit more, Kate.
Right.
It will go up, but if you plan properly,
Sound decision.
you can get it done. I've been in this business a long time.
I understand, but we have a second high school to open, so we'll plan on not having a stadium to open in 2018.
Not the end of the world.
Okay, so the next item on the.
However, two things. Number one, do we need to disengage that contract? Are we under any deadlines on the current contract we have?
We have to ask for an extension if you want to keep it going. That's the first week of August.
So we have.
So that party can say no to that extension. So we'll
But at the
request an
same
extension.
time, this is our last, but do we have to authorize you making that extension because we don't meet again prior to the first week of
I don't
August?
think you need to ask.
Okay.
We can ask for the extension.
And I'd like to say that part of this discussion is rejuggling this, because I don't think the other schools and the other districts need to keep waiting while this gets played out. If they want to play this out in another way, then we want to talk about, I want to bring back a motion to recalibrate the list. I don't want everybody below the stadium, which is what, the second or third project, to be stuck by this waiting. I want to bring back a motion
Here's
to
what I'm thinking. Let me
change
do
their
some
orders.
exploration, over the next couple of weeks, and if we have to have a call-in meeting or something, yeah, special call meeting, where it doesn't take too long, but let me do some exploration. I'll talk to Mr. Santos, come up with some ideas.
If y'all don't make a decision in August, I'm changing the order of construction, because
got
we're
you.
not waiting.
I got you.
Right. I think, though, we need to take, so I don't think we should, it's not Jeff's responsibility to ask to continue the contract. I think we should make a motion whether we should do that or not.
Yeah, so let's plan on having a meeting. It's not, this is special if it's a call-in or whatever, and we'll figure it out.
I do think we need to make sure that we stay true to the budgets, 19.8.
I think for
The more
me,
you pay on dirt, the less you pay on concrete.
I think for me, ladies and gentlemen, this is always tough. A lot of times, the work that we do is so much centered around education of our children that one may believe that the decisions that we make as it pertains to the resources around educating our children and where they are educated gets really important too. And, you know, I'm not a numbers guy. I don't do math for a living, but 7 zeros is 7 zeros. And so when you talk about the difference between a potential savings of $6 million or a potential expense of 13 million, ladies and gentlemen, we could talk about it haphazardly by saying, well, it's just a couple pennies here or a couple pennies there. I don't know what world we live in, but $6 million is not a little bit of money. And so when we talk about students who feel the urge and the need and the willingness to want to have a graduation or a prom or homecoming on their own football field, as much as I appreciate that sentiment, I have to resort back to my board member, Cindy Coates, who identified schools throughout our district that don't have a home when it comes to a football field or a football stadium or a baseball stadium or a soccer field. And so I do hope that whatever resolve this board does come up with, that it happens like yesterday. I appreciate the fact that it's been going on.
Here it goes. I'm going to go ahead and change my vote so we can move forward. Now, we've taken it to the precipice. I know the will of the rest of the board. I will change my vote.
Kate, you heard that?
All right, so Mr. Staubs, you're a yes, so the vote passes.
What's that?
Here, one confusing hot mess up
Wait a
here.
minute, what are you saying now?
And Reverend Mack.
Hold on now.
We have a rebid on the cost of the construction.
Okay.
Ask for a
Okay, so the next item.
Wait a minute, I'm confused, what happened?
We could
No,
do that.
where we at?
Well, when I'm told that we're going to be moved to the bottom of the list,
I didn't say
and we're not
bottom,
going to, and we're not going to get a stadium for a
But she
year.
can't do that because she's only one board member. She can't do that.
And
Wait a
Mr.
minute.
Reverend
Just
Mack
because she
changed
says
their
she's gonna
vote.
move you to the bottom of the list, it takes a vote of
All right.
9 people.
Exactly.
You
So you
change
can't
the
do it
vote
by
based
yourself.
upon
The
that.
next
Can't
item,
be intimidated.
yeah, the next item on the agenda is, wait, sorry, I moved to, is the Lincoln.
So, board members, the next item on the list for discussion tonight is
I'm sorry, what's that?
District 1, use of the District 1 property. I think it's not even fun.
Is yours on?
Hold it.
Couldn't find it. It's yours? That's not on mine, I don't have that one there. Yeah, I don't have that. I thought I got a new one, but.
So the next item,
I think you're on now. You're on now. Yeah, you're on now.
the next item on the list for discussion is the use of the Lincoln. It was not a tie.
Ties, no action, ties, but
I just want to make
it
sure
won.
that Portia had the votes correctly attributed to everybody, so we've got our minutes
What's the vote
straight.
number again?
It's 4-3. The way it goes is based on the final answers, is Kevin is a no, Miller is a yes, Stobbs is a yes, Mike is a no. Mac is a yes. Mac is a yes.
So here's the votes on that particular item.
Okay, what do you have by name?
Mr. Hollenshed, no. Ms. Coates, yes. Reverend Collins, no.
Reverend who?
Reverend Collins?
Okay.
No. Mr. Miller, yes.
Okay.
Mr. Staubs, yes. Reverend Mack, yes. Ms. Darby, yes.
I had you confused. Thank you. I got it. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, Max, yes.
Okay,
That's fine too.
sorry, thank you. Okay, so do we have a motion for the use of the Lincoln?
Yeah, Mr. Miller made the motion to approve. I'll second it.
Okay, what are we voting on?
The Lincoln use?
Okay. And this is a motion to allow them to enter in discussions, and they cannot approve anything without coming back to the board, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Do we have any questions for staff on that? Okay.
Well, now I'm going to crawl.
Okay, Mr. Hollingshed? We're voting on the Lincoln. I'm asking staff to come back and give us a
Yes.
recommendation. Okay.
Hold it.
Oh, sorry.
Who moved to approve the Lincoln?
Mr. Miller did, and I second.
Ms. Miller did,
Just
and,
type as hard as you can, guys.
Okay.
okay, and Max seconded.
Okay, and we're getting ready to vote?
Yep, we're getting ready to vote.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Hollingshed, yes?
Repeat your vote.
Okay, Ms. Coate, okay.
Yes.
Reverend Collins?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Staubs?
Yes.
Reverend Mack?
Yes.
And I vote yes, the motion passes. The next item on the agenda is the
We're in order.
West Ashley, thank you, is the West Ashley land
Madam
transfer.
Chair, I approve and direct staff to execute a land transfer in exchange for the consideration listed and execute any temporary and permanent easements associated with the land transfer of the construction of the library on the subject property.
Okay, so we have a motion from Ms. Coates. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, Member Mack. Do we have any questions?
After we approve it, can we say what the subject property is?
Yes, that's just been voted on.
Okay, Mr. Hollingshed?
Aye.
Ms. Coates?
Yes.
Reverend Collins?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Staubs?
Yes.
Yes.
And I vote yes, so the subject property is,
So this is in reference to the West Ashley Library near the West Ashley High School.
okay? Gosh, this way, all right. Then, the next item is, we had a request to amend a charter, and it's not on there as an action item, so we're going to ask the superintendent to ask staff to inform the charter school that has asked us to add a K-4 program, that they may do so at no expense to the district. And the board is asking for some additional details, so staff will provide that to us when it's provided to us from the charter. Yep, Mr. Reverend.
What do you mean, is that this is an action item?
It wasn't listed as an action item on the agenda that was posted.
On this it is.
It was, but on the public agenda, it's listed as information, so we can follow through.
But,
But-
so my question is the net result of approving that motion, Kate, that they can
see what you're
continue
saying.
moving forward?
Right.
Then I second the motion.
Well, we don't even need a
Yeah,
motion.
make a motion.
We don't need a motion.
Right.
So are we
Yeah.
able to have them move forward without a board
Yes,
vote?
yes.
Okay, as long as we're
Because
making.
they need to bring us back some more
But
information.
next meeting, let's make sure that it's on the agenda
Yep,
the proper way and we vote on it publicly.
okay?
So, whoa.
They're going to
Has to
move
be a vote.
forward.
Right, they're going to
Yeah.
move forward,
They
so
still
we don't
they
need
still
them
need
to
to vote, they
wait.
still need an official vote, though. They can move forward, not stopping that, but they still need an official vote to say we did it, we authorized
If
it.
they need an official vote, I don't think we can tell them yes before we take an official vote. I think we ought to let Kate and Dr. Postaway go ahead and let them begin.
I want them to do this, that, so when we come back, we still need to vote on it properly.
But if you think it needs to be voted on by the board, that means by definition, we can't tell them to do it until we vote on it.
It means you have a meeting, you tell them
Hey,
next
Dr.
meeting.
Postaway.
That's what it means, next meeting you vote.
Dr. Postaway.
Raising her hand, she's like.
At the next meeting, we will, providing we can work out the details, we'll bring back the actual charter for you to revise. You did not have that in front of you.
Okay.
Okay, you can-
So we'll bring back.
I don't want us to be saying
the
yes
charter
to things
to-
that are getting voted on later as a habit. But I want them to move forward.
Yeah.
Was the charter school folks aware that asking for this, they needed to change their charter to do so?
Yeah, in fact, that was the request. The request was, can we change our charter so that we can serve four-year-old kindergarten?
But did, okay, let Dr. Postway.
Or at least that's the email I got.
Yes, they made the requested change to revise their charter, but what we didn't get from them was a suggested revision to the charter. So we'll ask Ms. Ham to work with them on the actual language that you
Okay.
would need. And we will try to have that ready for you in August.
Okay, good.
Okay, and then our last item from the executive session is
Student transfers.
student transfers, and I recommend that we just uphold the recommendations from the constituent boards for all of the transfers.
I second that motion.
So, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is the superintendent's report, which is going to be an hour.
Thank you, yay! And as the Vanessa Denny makes her way to the podium, I'll tell you, we have something really exciting to talk about tonight that should have garnered as much attention as anything else that has come before your agenda in the past couple months. We have had an overwhelmingly positive response to Early College High School. Ms. Denny, Dr. Denny, almost, I can't remember people's titles. Vanessa is the director of Early College High School and has some really exciting news to share with the board. So if you want to hang on one sec, because I know everyone will want to hear this.
No, they don't.
Sorry, we were disagreeing we got it.
So first of all, I'd like to thank you all. Because of your vision, we're able to bring Early College High School to life, and it's such an exciting endeavor for myself and the faculty. We have a fabulous partnership with Trident Technical College, Dr. Thornley, Dr. Robinson, who's the dean over at Palmer campus, and Dr. Hudak, who's the assistant dean. The collaboration between departments here at CCSD has been incredible. I'd like to give you just a quick update. Some of the things have changed since the board update that was sent on the 11th. As of today, we have 82 students confirmed. As you know, we're accepting up to 100. 3 are pending confirmation. 6 have declined, and 9 who have not replied in any way, shape, or form. Pull it down. I've never heard that one before. So not 82 have confirmed, 3 have completed their telephone conferences, and we're just waiting on a partners and safety letter from them. 6 have declined acceptance, and 9 who have not applied. We have a very strong wait list of 173 students who just are full of potential, so I'm really
Somebody's
excited.
smiling over there.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I called a parent today from the wait list, and their reaction was that they started crying over the phone. They were so excited that their son had been removed from their wait list. So that's just incredibly
Brings the first
gratifying.
question. You do plan on having one, given that you have a wait list, you will enroll 100 before the first day of school?
Yes, absolutely. So we have 4 amazing teachers in each of our subject areas: math, science, English, social studies. They've all already shown incredible dedication. They've come in, they've interviewed our students who have been accepted thus far. They've participated in Avid training in Tampa, Florida for 3 days. We're really proud, and you'll see this in the notes, in the update that I provided, of the diversity that Early College High School will offer.
That's amazing.
And we've set our curriculum. We're going to start students with English 1 who do not already have the credit. Students who do have an English 1 credit will start immediately with English 2. Going to be very aggressive and offer biology to all of our freshmen. World geography, geometry, and algebra, depending upon which math credit they earned in the 8th grade. And we'll provide students with an Avid period, which will be 40 minutes. They'll receive half credit for that. And that's the period that we'll really use to support and push them through this challenging curriculum. So we're very excited about the potential of our students, very excited about the faculty that we've assembled, and we can't wait to get going. But we're really thankful for your vision, because if not for your vision, this reality would never come about. Any questions?
Great work.
Thanks.
Very exciting.
Thanks so much.
We can't wait for the board to come visit Early College High School this fall, so
I
we
was
do
just
want to
about
set
to
it.
ask, when will we be able to come visit?
We want to get something set up for you to do that September or October,
Okay.
as soon as they're ready for company. along with early college high school, there's a program implemented in some of our highest need schools that help kids get ready to succeed when doors of opportunity open for them. That's called the Avid Program, and it's all about helping individuals who may not have had parents or other family members go to college or pursue careers that require advanced training, be ready for those opportunities when the doors open. Advancement via individual determination. If it is to be, it's up to me, is sort of the underlying philosophy. The core of what highly trained teachers do with these kids is called WICOR, W-I-C-O-R, writing to learn, inquiry, collaboration, organizational skills, and critical reading. They actually teach kids how to read for content, pick out the important facts from a selection, and then use that information. We've had 46 educators trained this summer. That took $72,000 primarily from Title II funds.
Chris?
It's Chris's fault.
It's okay. I used to teach.
So you wonder what? So why'd the room get quiet?
Well, I was going to say, why did you get so quiet?
Why get so quiet?
$72,000 primarily from Title II funds. The Title II funds supported Baptist Hill, Morningside, Hot Gap, Simmons Pinckney, and then early college high school. St. John's High School was supported with the Education Economic Development Act's funds. So properly implemented, this sort of program changes the culture of a school to a school that's about the business of preparedness. It can have a tremendous impact if it isn't implemented with fidelity, if the principal, the school leaders, counselors do not take it seriously, it's a waste of money. So we're going to assess each of these schools at the end of the year to make sure that this investment is having the sort of impact that it should have. But the combination of Avid with early college high school creates a climate that can change lives for lots and lots of kids.
Let me ask a question. So with that, what are the schools again that will be implementing Avid next year?
This year, we started the program and will continue it at St. John's High School, Baptist Hill Middle High, Hot Gap, Morningside Middle, Simmons Pinckney, and we'll be adding early college high school.
And you said we started it in the 16-17 year for all of these locations?
We began it in these locations with inadequate support, but we at least got our feet wet with it this year.
And so I guess help us understand so we can kind of visualize it. We have one-to-one learning, we have individualized learning, we have iPad learning, you go to Stahl, you have certain classes, et cetera. When you say Avid is an individualized plan, what does it look like? Is it equipment different or just culture different, or are they in different classrooms than the non-Avid?
It's the discipline of the teacher to get the student to do the work, to get the student to commit to do the work. It teaches students, it's a very intentional program that teaches kids how to learn, how to be the learner, how to be responsible, how to pull the information. So instead of pushing information at kids, which works with kids who are taught to sit and get, it teaches kids to take responsibility and teaches them how to read a chapter and find the important points in that chapter. That's where lots of our kids fall down. We get them into college, but they don't have the college-going skills that they need.
I like that concept you said, sit and get. I think oftentimes that's how we perceive education to be. You sit it, I'm going to give it to you, you get it,
Right.
and then you regurgitate it through a test, and we determine whether or not.
You head on out.
Right.
Right. So this shifts the onus for the learning from the teacher to the student.
And it shifts it across all the core, because you said, you gave a great example. It shows them how to read a chapter and zone in on the critical pieces. Does that discipline go across through math and history and social studies? Is it a discipline of how they teach each course?
When it's done well, the discipline is with the child who takes it into all those courses. When it's done extremely well, all of the teachers in the school understand WICOR, W-I-C-O-R, or WICOR, depending on how the school talks about that acronym. But across the school, it's writing to learn, inquiry, collaboration, organizational skills, and critical reading are the skills that are emphasized. But in the particular Avid coaching, Avid teacher to student, it teaches the student how to do those things, what that means, what actions I take, what it looks like to read a chapter and outline it, summarize it, find the main points. Because those are things that some kids learn and that everybody else takes for granted that everyone will do that. But everyone doesn't do that. And Rich Gordon has been responsible for implementing that program. Rich, are there additional comments you'd like to make? I'm conversant. Rich is knowledgeable.
I mean, echoing what you're saying, Dr. Postlewaite, also I'd like to add, it gets the professional educators together, and they create what are called site teams. So when we all went down to Tampa and we spent 3 days, we met in our small learning communities, our cohorts, and we were identifying as schools, individual schools, what was working and what was not working, and then come up with strategic plans for the next year and how we're going to implement Avid with fidelity. Now, the needs at St. John's might be different than the needs at Hot Gap or Baptist Hill or Morningside or Simmons Pinckney. That's why the principals were there. We had guidance counselors there. We had teachers there. They get together. They collaborate. They all have input, and then they take it back to their schools. They meet again as site teams, and that continues throughout the school year. And they're part of the professional development, so when the educators come back in 3 weeks from now, this is what we learned, these are our goals, this is what we're doing, this is how we're going to implement the Avid principles so that we can close the achievement gap for these kids. So it changes a school climate, from my perspective, more than anything else. It's teaching strategies, so the teachers are learning additional tactics, additional pedagogy, instruction, teaching and learning. The students are learning student skills, like Dr. Postlewaite was describing, how to take notes, how to read for content, locate information. Also, the Avid elective is a critical component of this piece. The children are receiving career awareness and exploration and soft skills, and how do we go to an interview and dress appropriately and create a resume, and active listening skills and being professional. So it teaches all that other stuff that are so critical, so important. And then that also factors into student success. It's fantastic. Right now, and like Dr. Postlewaite was saying, we have it at 5 schools, we're retaining it, and then we're adding early college, high school to the mix.
I have a question. If that's what's needed to raise student achievement, to change the sit and get philosophy of educating a student, then what are our colleges teaching teachers to be? And how are they educating teachers to teach? I mean, all of us are over 30, and I'm pretty certain that the teachers who educated us didn't have the advantages of Avid, but they had something.
They did. They did.
What is it that they had? Or was it Avid, but was it just a dog of a different name? Because it really seems, I love the fact that we're looking at pedagogy and how we deliver information to students to teach to the total child, to teach all these different things that they need to have to be successful. It's almost as if we need to create our own teaching academy. And instead of high school students going to USC or Clemson or wherever to learn to teach, then why don't they just come here and then we teach them? Because I don't understand, I don't want to say why do we have to reteach, but why do we have to reteach the teacher?
Well, and I think the other part is, you're absolutely right. And you can see the superintendent smiling. That is an issue, and I think that not only you're asking why didn't the teachers do it in the past, we weren't the students in the past that they are today. I mean, I didn't know how to do anything except look at the teacher, and now there's the iPad and the phone and everything else. So I don't know if it's a state of flux that's causing the change and what we need teachers coming out of college to learn. Is this short term, or is this, like Michael said, forever, and we're going to need to train our own?
And I know, Jarita, you said in your presentation, you mentioned that we wanted to, we'll look at the results in a year.
I'd like it to be.
I was about to say, I was hoping that we'll get the summation in a year, but we will get quarterly reports on how things are going. I think we can't wait till the cake is done to notice it's not going to taste good. We need to know beforehand, because one thing I don't want us to do is wait yet another year to find out that something that we thought for sure was going to work. And Cindy, we've been on the board long enough to know there've been another gimmicks
Well, or
in
the
the
other
school
thing is,
district
we'll
that say
forget
you
all
do.
about it by June.
Right. And so
Mr.
I just want to make
Chairman,
sure that we're able to track the success of this program and know that it is successful in December versus waiting till, at least have some idea that it's successful and is the way we're implementing it is working with fidelity. And instead of us having to wait till this time next year to come out and say, well, you know what, Mr. Hollinshed, we thought about that program and it's not working, we got to scrap it and go something else, because I'm pretty certain that these programs are not free. And I know that it costs the district money, so I just want to make sure we're going to get the kind of results we need.
Kevin?
It's interesting, the concept. You're always going to need retooling if you're going to advance in society. The concept that you're talking about, let me tell you, historical black colleges have been doing this for over 50 years. I can remember coming out of high school, and I had to start over to read a book, to dissect the book, and to write my my papers. So it's amazing how things kind of go back around again, and it has to be reiterated, but it's needed. You know, it needs to be sharpened up here and there, tweaked, remind, renew, and reiterate. And that's one thing about education, that even in law enforcement or even in construction, they go for CT hours to sharpen themselves up. So I understand where you're coming from. I think it's a good move. Now, as Michael said, we need to see the results or how to gauge the results, but we need to kind of figure out where that is, where you just, see how effectively it works in the school, if I'm correct.
So let me just plug in that with the Avid program, and I'm going to personalize it a little bit to say that I have found the program to be very successful and to have actually witnessed, a set of students that came through middle school, through high school, and is now going to college. 3 that I know of personally. And it was because of that Avid program that was added up on top of the other things that they were exposed to. But I know Avid focused a lot that helped steer them in the right direction. And with that coordinator and the coach that was in place at a particular time with the Avid program, worked with those students and got them to where, and all 3 of those students are off to college. And so in light, that's positive within itself. Of the program of success, and we're talking about we want to see end results. Well, in my opinion, that's positive end results of something that's currently working, and I think it's a great program. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
In response to your comments about teacher training, I think you'll see coming from out of the listening sessions and from the staff a recommendation to expand the summer residency program from this year. And we're also in conversations with one of the local universities about taking the 4th year, figuring out whether it's possible to take student teachers the whole 4th year of college and putting them on the ground for
That's a great
training,
idea.
because it's really difficult to learn to do anything in a vacuum.
Too much of a learning
Of
curve,
real
yeah.
people, right? So a lot of work is being done in thinking about teacher preparation. And then the final thing under the superintendent's report is just to bring to your attention the latest updates of the Code of Conduct, to emphasize that throughout the year, the team who works with the Code of Conduct and the disciplinary procedures has made changes as they've received feedback at the secondary level, the middle school level, the elementary level. And they'll continue to make those modifications. We keep hearing that the Code of Conduct doesn't work effectively. We hear that primarily. We hear it more from one of our schools than from the others. We have surveyed all of the teachers in the district in June, and that information is being processed now. For the most part, for most of our schools, the response rate in terms of any difficulties is very low, but when you get inside of the problems that are described according to those who've looked at the data, it's the way the program is implemented or the referrals are handled within specific schools. So we will continue to be very responsive to suggestions for improvement as we receive them. They're in your packet in Friday's update, and then in today's packet, there was a summary of all the revisions that have been made, copies of the Code of Conduct as it stands right now, and we'll continue to make those revisions throughout the year. So if folks complain to you that the Code of Conduct or progressive discipline plans aren't working, please refer them to Jennifer Coker. We take that feedback very seriously and work at intervals throughout the year to make adjustments.
So may I, these are what we can expect the Code of Conduct to look like for next year as of today, and if necessary changes are made, will be updated?
As of today, we have to have them finalized within the next 2 weeks, but we wanted to bring you what we have as of today, outline. We put this in the Friday update, outline the revisions that have been made, and to assure you that we continue to it's a process of listening and refining, responding. And when we locate, as we have identified one school that just insists this isn't working, we know we have some other work to do to provide supports to make sure that the processes are in place and being followed by everyone.
So, I heard the conversations. I just want, if there are changes to this, I want the board to be able to know where to find the Code of Conduct readily every day of the school year next year. I mean, we get called in October, we'll get a question in the middle of November. So as of today, this could be my reference. But if it changes, you'll have to give us updates and tell us what changed.
As of today, it will be, but it will be prominently displayed on the website, and every student will receive a copy of the progressive discipline plan.
Okay, that was going to be my question. Does every
Do
student
you
get
want to
that?
say a little bit more about that, please? Thank you.
Because I think one of the things that we dealt with the most is we kept hearing things about the plan, and that means we have to go home and get our laptops and then read it.
So there are two documents. One is the Code of Conduct, which is the book you have, which is the Parent Resource Manual and Code of Conduct, which outlines lots of information for parents and for teachers and for students. The second document would be the progressive discipline plans, which are what the administrators use to determine what consequences are administered to students. That is not currently part of the Code of Conduct. That is a separate document that we give administrators and we train them. We have changed that document 5 times this year. Every time I changed it, I did send it to the board, but I know it got confusing because we made multiple changes. The problem is when we're reacting to the feedback, we feel like waiting to the end of the year would be the wrong idea. So we have not published the progressive discipline plans on the website anywhere because we have been changing them so much. Our hope is that as we go through this year, we'll get to a final phase of that where we can then put it as part of the Code of Conduct in the future. But we changed it 5 times this year, and I imagine that as we go through this year, we'll get one last set of feedback. Our goal is to have feedback every quarter from not just administrators, but do a teacher survey quarterly to see if we can find some more code types that are problematic, because that's kind of where we've nailed down certain codes are what are causing some of the concern. For elementary, it was hit, kick, push. So we've pulled those apart, and there's one for staff and one for students, and we'll have a different set of consequences depending on where that occurs. And then for secondary, it was about profanity towards staff and profanity towards students. So we've moved those apart, and we're working on the progressions. And the other piece that was a major concern that we've heard, it would be teachers are writing referrals in the teacher level in the classroom, and so there was no way to elevate those to the administrator, and so we've got a process embedded now in the progressive plan on every level for that. So those are some of the things the committee is working on. We're still meeting. We meet every Thursday right now, and we will be giving you a progressive discipline that looks like a policy. So we're going to strike out old language and put in new language just for the first one so you can see where all the changes were, and then we'll have a clean version that goes out to you and administrators once we're done with those revisions this summer.
So we'll probably have it by school.
You'll have it before school, yes, ma'am. We want to get you the striked out version in 2 weeks in a board update.
So you have a parent resource manual and the student code of conduct, and then you have the other one's called?
The progressive discipline plans are
Progressive discipline.
about 60 pages each.
Right. I appreciate the look at our progressive discipline plan as we were obviously faced with the numbers of suspensions and expulsions based on race in the district. I personally, I'm not 100% certain that we needed to redo everything for the simple fact that we already had, to my understanding, either a student code of conduct or a progressive discipline plan. One thing we did not have was teachers and principals implementing the policies as they were written. And I think that was the problem. I don't think we needed to rewrite this, but also how do you hold principals and administrators accountable when an item or an issue may happen at one campus and the same issue happened at another campus, but the discipline was different. So writing a new plan, to me, doesn't address that. And when you came up with the new plan, you got a lot of pushback from principals, because then you saw the number of occurrences that a student could do went up because it took them longer to get to a place where they felt they could do something about the discipline. And so I don't know if this new approach will make principals or will hold principals more accountable when students here do something, and we've all have heard it as board members. A student at one school may look a certain way, parents come from a certain community, and another kid does the same thing, but the disciplines are completely different, and it comes out in our numbers. So I hope that all of the work that you're doing will somehow miraculously make principals do what they're supposed to be doing anyway. But I also understand that principals don't want their numbers to look bad, they don't want numbers to be elevated, so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, if the code of conduct is already written and the student discipline plan is already in place, how does anything you write here make me as a principal do it any differently?
Well, we always have had a code of conduct, but we really haven't had progressive discipline plans. Those were up to individual schools, and when I asked for them, I only got about 5. So we needed one that was district-wide, so that we have consistency. We do have a better plan moving forward. We've met with some principals and executive directors on a monthly report to principals that will give them feedback. We will be auditing a certain amount of referrals every month so that they can see if they are using the PDP with fidelity. And usually it's not always the principal. They have many assistant principals. So we feel like we've put in some steps to help principals monitor this themselves this year as well, because it's very hard to keep up with if it's not something you're doing every day. So we have a schedule for monthly reports to go out to principals that will help them with the fidelity piece as well. And that'll go to the principal and the executive directors.
How do you feel like, Jennifer, the whole suspension, expulsion, equity, and numbers are?
So we're working on those numbers still from last year. We still had hearings last week that we're finishing up from the end of the year based on some scheduling issues with constituent boards. So the one thing that we want to remind everyone is that we also implemented the Review 360 electronic documentation of referrals. We've never had a common system for schools to enter their discipline into one place. We always had Power School, but that was paper back into a computer, and we know that that wasn't happening with Fidelity. So we were on trend to have a slight improvement. I don't know what the end of the year results will look like quite yet, but we will have a more accurate picture of all of suspensions and referrals, because they could be hidden more easily in the past with paper copies. And so now we have an electronic system that does link to Power School. So this is really a baseline year for that data to be as clean as it's probably been in a long time.
One more thing for me. Fidget spinners.
Pardon me?
Fidget spinners.
What was that? What is it?
It's just this little thingy that they do.
The toy.
We haven't addressed that.
So are we going to address that? Or are we looking at addressing that? Or are we going to let it go until it gets to a point where we must address it? some teachers even last year, it's so interesting. My daughter was the one who told me about it because I had no idea. And she told me some kids in her class had it. And she looked at me like she wanted me to say, well, you could get one too. And then she quickly said, but Daddy, you're not going to let me get one, are you? I said, no, I'm not. But her teacher was like, okay, we're not going to use those in my class. So again, when you talk about consistency and fidelity, I know it's pretty minuscule, but I guarantee you come the first day of school, there'll be thousands of those things all throughout our schools. And so the question is, are we going to look at that in any way, shape, form, or fashion before August 17?
So we haven't looked at it yet. I can certainly ask elementary principals particularly, I think is where the biggest issue is that I've heard some people. I know most schools have said that they shouldn't be out in the middle of class. If they don't see them, then the child that has it needed it and is using it appropriately. So we can certainly work on that, but we have not addressed it yet. 5 years ago, it was jelly bracelets. I mean, it seems like it's always a recurring. You remember those? So we certainly can speak to the, I think mostly it's elementary schools that are dealing with that. So I can put some information out and see if that's something they want us to come up with. The other thing we're working on with IT and with schools is iPad misuse and a constant response to that, but we're not finished with that progression.
Okay.
And I would just say from my own, just from having taught, I think as a classroom teacher, I can deal with the fidget spinner problem in my classroom. What I need help with is cyberbullying. So I think we have to decide, what level we're going to expend our energies.
I agree.
I agree. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you, Jennifer.
That completes the superintendent's report.
Fantastic report.
Thank you for the time.
You know what? That's so not right.
Actually, it kind of is.
Thank you.
That's so not right.
Okay, so next on our agenda is, making sure I'm staying up here. Committee reports, items 7B, revised human resource policies, the G policies. Do we want to take these each separately?
Yes.
Yep, okay. So
we need a motion on GBEA?
yes, employee ethics and conflicts of interest. So this is the one that Reverend Collins had
Changing the word shall to must.
Yes. So we've got that change.
So I move to approve it with the changes that were made in committee of the whole.
Right? Isn't that the one you had the change on, Reverend Collins? Okay. All right, so Cindy makes the motion to approve with the changes from the committee of the whole. Do we have a second?
Just make sure we have a quorum.
And we have a second from Kevin. Okay, do we have any questions or discussion? Oh, sorry. Yeah, we do. Questions or discussion? Okay. Mr. Hollenshed?
Go to Michael.
Oh, okay. Mr. Miller?
Aye.
I vote yes. Reverend Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Coates?
Yes.
Mr. Hollenshed?
Yes.
And the motion passes. Sorry, I need like my glasses
Where are your glasses?
up. I know I need them, but I need them, like I'm getting old and I need I need them.
Oh, so when I made the comment about 30, that you were the first one to say, what are you talking about?
No, I'm 51 and I need my glasses upped so I can see better. Okay, policy GDCFB, clearance standards for classified staff.
That's the one I think this is the one that troubles me the most.
Okay,
And I'm beginning to tell you, I'll tell you why.
Clearance.
When you look at reducing a criminal background check from 10 years to 7 years, and you're hiring people that work with children, people that are in and out of our schools, they could have committed arson, they could have identity theft, fraud, false pretense, theft. A whole slew of crimes that are not necessarily considered a physical assault. And I just can't see giving anybody a clearance in 7 years to put them in our school district working among children.
so do you want it less than that?
More.
He wants it to stay at 10.
I don't want anything less than 10 years.
Is there a reason?
Yeah. Yeah, I just can't imagine,
Wait a minute.
yeah.
We can certainly go back and investigate.
First reading and second reading, what other districts are doing, but
I think that we had another director working this through, and my understanding from that was that, and I'm sorry, if I may speak, that the standard history that was available was 7 years, not 10 years. And so the idea was to make it consistent with.
Right, because when you pull a felony history, it pulls for 7 years. How do you get a 10-year? Because when we do background checks, so what is the steps you've been taking to get to 10 years?
And Sydney, is that a state or federal background check?
It depends what you want.
What do we mandate
We go
with
across
us?
the country. We don't do just South Carolina. We go across the country.
And what's in the Sterling report, Bill? I mean, is it I mean, I never. Okay. Okay.
we cover in-state, out-of-state, but I think the services report's not necessarily going back past 7 years. We certainly have some data to
Well, can I, Reverend Phelps, can I ask you a question, though? I don't understand when you sound like you're concerned that we have people who are working with children and they could have something bad in their background, so why do you want it to be 10, so you want it to go back 10 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, yes.
I gotcha.
Yeah,
it might have happened 8 years ago.
There's so many other crimes.
Gotcha, I gotcha.
that a person
King
can
was like,
commit.
oh, okay.
And so when I see the 7 years, it scares me. that
I
we
see
was-
what you're saying.
And then the other part, Mr. Briefman, I have a problem with is that you say you'll deal with it on a case-by-case basis, people that do have some kind of background issue. And whatever the case-by-case basis issue is, I like that to be a spelled-out process that fits everybody the same. You know, not something that's a gray area. You know, if this person's forgiven robbing a bank by your process, and the one who stole $10,000 in checks or $1 million checks, they all have a process too. So whatever that process is, that it's a clear process that spells out what it is for everybody to be treated equally, and not that some can get by committing crime.
And I understand that. I disagree. I want it to be reviewed on a case-by-case basis, and I'm sure that we each have our opinions based on what we do for a living, but I believe there are cases where people who may have made mistakes that, if you remember, these are not certain specific crimes, might still warrant a conversation as opposed to automatically disqualifying them from an interview.
Well, that's what I'm not saying. I'm not saying automatically disqualified. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying a process that identifies and treats everybody the same, whatever the background is. In other words, because what will happen in some cases is this person gets a break, but the other one doesn't get a break
And Chris,
for doing the same thing.
And you're saying because it's not written out
That's
and
right.
outlined in a policy.
That's right.
It's then open to interpretation for those who
That's
are in
right.
the process, making sure that a person
So when
gets
you go to hire somebody, Michael,
What?
do you ever talk to them individually? Or
Yes.
So that's case by case?
No, because I do a background check too.
Right, you do a background check, but
And if something dings them, they out the door.
with no exception.
No exception.
Something dings them after they get hired?
Out the door.
All right, Mr. Hollenshed, who's the one person around here that raises his hand.
That's just how I do
Check
business.
with a young attorney over there. You have to be, am I right? You have to be consistent with what you do, right?
Yeah, it's
You
not.
can't randomly pick.
Right.
Because you open yourself up for a lawsuit on top of that.
This allows you to discuss.
I mean, I think that is the driver here, that Mr. Hollenshed is correct, because some of the reports only go back 7 years. In South Carolina, sled capture go back for decades. And so you have one candidate for a position, and what we're looking at is something that happened 9 years ago, and you have a candidate for the same position, and we don't have 9 years ago, or 10 years ago, or 12 years ago. I mean, what we're trying to do is get it consistent. Again, I guess what I would ask is for you all to consider adopting this on first reading, and then we can verify that.
That's true, we could work on it between
I will make that motion, that we adopt this on first reading, knowing that we want to review the 7 and 10 years and clarify case by case.
I don't think we need to adopt that just yet. I think I need some more work. A driving license is 10 years, almost 10 years in many cases. I'm about to pull it.
I still got a question on the
All
floor.
right, go ahead.
Are your reporting agencies through SLED, or your reporting agencies through the county, or what?
It'll just indicate that we use SLED for in-state, but for out-of-state, we use another service, which he believes only captures 7 years.
from South Carolina, you could have something on your record 11 years ago that a candidate from New York has on their record 11 years ago, but you don't know they both did the same thing.
But SLED used to report, SLED, unless things have changed since I've been gone, if you had a SLED hit, it covers around the country, correct, or that's changed now? It stopped, that's changed now. The NCIC is not being used anymore.
NCIC is not a SLED check. That's a different process.
So could we,
I got you now.
could we, since there's a number of things that we have to do on this one, could we pull it?
Yes.
And then.
Sure,
work
I've made a
on it?
motion to approve it, and if that doesn't get a second, it fails, or if it gets a second and doesn't pass, then we have an alternative motion that can
Okay,
come on the floor.
so Cindy, tell me your motion again, Cindy.
Motion to approve with the understanding the district will review the considerations discussed.
Okay, so Cindy made the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll make a second motion.
I don't know, Cindy, maybe?
All right, do we have a motion to Cindy's, a second to Cindy's motion? Sorry.
So Chris, did you second the motion?
I can.
He didn't, but he's like, okay.
Sure, all right.
All right, Staubs seconded Cindy's motion. So,
Then we vote, and when it
Okay.
fails,
So-
then
all right, so Cindy made a motion, and she wants us to do first reading of the motion and take into consideration Reverend Collins's two things that he wants us to work on, which are the 7 and 10, and then the items in
Case
the
by
last.
case.
Yep, okay. So, Mr. Miller, how do you vote?
No.
No? Mr. Staubs?
No.
Reverend Mack?
Guess I gotta go no too.
It's a silly
Mr. Hollingshed?
No.
Eric, what'd you say?
Ms. Coates? Ms.
Yes.
Coates? Reverend Collins?
No.
Killing me.
I don't know.
I vote yes, the motion fails. All right, Reverend Collins, you have a motion?
Yes, I move to send it back to committee.
Okay, so you want to send it back to committee?
Yes, ma'am.
So pull item GDCFB and
Yes.
send it back to committee.
Right now,
Okay.
I won't fight you on the rest of them.
Okay. All right, so Reverend Collins has a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Miller,
Aye.
second. So Mr. Miller?
send it back.
Send it back. So Mr. Miller, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Staubs? Reverend Mack?
Yes.
Mr. Hollingshed?
Yes.
Ms. Coates?
No,
Reverend Collins?
Yes.
And I vote yes, so the motion passes to pull. Okay? So the next item is policy GDO, which is classification of, evaluation of classified staff. Sorry.
move to approve first reading.
I think we have.
Okay, so Cindy, for approval, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, Reverend Mack seconded. Do we have any questions? Okay. Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Staubs?
Yes.
Reverend Mack?
Yes.
Mr. Hollingshed?
Yes.
Ms. Coates?
Yes.
And we've been here 8
Reverend
hours.
Collins?
Yes.
And I vote yes, the motion passes. The next item is, these are all resignation policies. The first one is GCQC, resignation of teachers.
Madam Chair, that's not exactly correct.
Okay, sorry.
This is taking those three policies,
Okay,
and it is the new policy that was presented to you.
Okay, sorry.
That says former GCQC, GCQD, and GDQB.
got it.
And it puts in there the quarterly report to the board. I move to approve first reading with one change, and that is where it says
I got it.
30 days, we change it to 30 business days. That's what was approved at the committee of the whole this morning.
Okay,
So
So-
we're getting rid of
What was that term Chris used?
QC, QD, and QB?
The language of them is not gone. The language of them has all been put into one
One
document.
That's what I'm asking.
Just puts them all together.
Right, they're
Okay.
not, the language isn't gone. We're not getting rid of them, but
All
we're
right.
putting them all in one
so
document.
we have a motion from Ms. Coates. Do we have a second?
Second.
So we have a second from Kevin. And basically what we're doing is combining the wording from those three policies, which I'm not going to read those letters, but those three policies, all that wording, and then we're changing 30 days to 30 business days.
So that goes from 4 weeks to 6 weeks.
Right,
much.
and that's for the fact that we have regular times that teachers and staff are not working. So it's 30 business days. It gives them a full month, up to 6 weeks, that these things can be handled.
Okay, so, Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Staubs?
Yes.
Reverend Mack?
Yes.
Mr. Hollingshed?
Yes.
Ms. Coates?
Yes.
Yes.
Reverend Collins, and I vote yes, the motion passes. Okay, Cindy, the next one is reduction in force policies.
It is the same thing. It takes, we used to have a reduction in force policy for these folks, then the next policy said the exact same thing for those folks, so now it just is for everybody combined onto one page.
Okay, so do you?
Move to approve first reading.
Okay, so we have a motion and from
Second.
Cindy, and we have a second from Kevin. So this is to combine reduction in force policies for certified non-administrative, for administrative staff and classified staff. Do we have any questions? All right, Mr. Hollingshed?
Aye.
Ms. Coates?
Yes.
Reverend Collins?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Staubs?
Yes.
Reverend Mack?
Yes.
And I vote yes, the motion passes. Okay, the next is policy GDQD,
Oh, wait a minute, hold on.
This is discipline.
discipline, suspension, and
Oh, gotcha.
dismissal of classified staff.
Move to approve first reading.
All right, I have a motion from Ms. Coates. Do I have a second?
Second.
And a second for Mr. Hollingshed. Do I have any discussion or questions? All right, Mr. Hollingshed?
Aye.
Ms. Coates?
Yes.
Reverend Collins?
No.
No. Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Staubs?
Yes.
Reverend Mack?
Yes.
And I vote yes, and the motion passes.
Can I ask a question just quickly?
Yep.
I mean, I see all the red that's scratched out. I don't know what the policy is. There's hardly anything left. I mean,
Motion to pass.
It's the discipline and the suspension.
They removed
yeah, I mean, I know
the
it's policy. It is. I
suspension
mean, on mine, all the writing is
Right,
mostly everything gone.
Suspension, so look at the note right above that. Discipline and suspension of classified staff is addressed in policy GBEBAA.
Right.
So rather than repeat it here,
Right, it's
this
not
policy
gone.
is just going to become about.
So we don't need this one then, right?
It's only going to become about dismissal
Dismissal.
because we'll deal with these other issues in this policy.
And this is just about dismissal.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying?
Right, but
Right, we
this is
removed
just
all
for
of that because
dismissal.
it's in another
The
policy.
discipline and suspension is in a different policy.
Okay, move on.
Okay, got it?
We're doing the house rule, try to stop them. They're gonna find me in contempt.
How many more policies we gonna change?
I'm serious.
Hey, you guys made the motion and voted back in years, earlier this year, that we'd review each of them to combine them. Remember, this whole purpose is to,
I probably voted no to that.
Okay, all right.
all right.
Thank you.
So the next one,
This
I
for your own good.
move to approve second reading and make sure that everyone who had this and reviewed it knows that the changes that were requested have been implemented into the second reading.
Which policy?
So let's take it, this is policy JE. This is item 7B2, policy JE, compulsory attendance, second reading, and Cindy says that the changes that we,
Reverend Collins asked that instead of it said schools are expected, that we incorporate schools are required. That is incorporated into the second reading.
JE, right?
Yep.
Yes, you're on JE.
Gotcha.
Okay, do we have any questions or discussion?
Just discussion, since this is the last one that we're voting on, and when policies. Cindy, is it possible that we can,
More of a voting.
huh?
There's more of a voting.
Is there? Well, I'm going to go ahead.
JEJHIKA.
All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and inject this one right now then. Is
Okay.
it possible, though, that we can maybe, and I believe Dr. Postway said this a year ago, taking time set aside to go through the policies one by one instead of doing a workshop to where we can look at these different policies and clean them up as much as possible? Because we have like, what?
15.
Well, to be clear, the only time you've had to vote on policy changes the same day you reviewed them was today.
Yeah.
The process is typically you get them in the committee of the whole, and if there's any input or changes before first reading, they're implemented.
Yeah, I get-
So that's that. These other ones are ones that you put in the committee, then you changed them, then you put them in the committee, and then they came for first reading, and now they're for second reading. So they've actually done all the things you just said.
Right, but we did those in the committee of the whole. I'm talking about a separate workshop where it's not included in the
That's
committee of the
nothing
whole.
policy.
It's just strictly policies that we're going through, is what I'm referencing to. As we talked about doing that, I'm just saying it just would be more
A workshop,
of
just
a
on
work,
policy.
or
Yeah,
just
yeah.
on policies
Because the
alone.
board did say we didn't want to pull individual committee meetings out, but we could do a workshop, and then I could take the information from the workshop and begin flowing it through the committee.
Right, I think that's what we need to do.
Yeah.
And that way we can,
So
clean them up
these are
better.
second readings. These have all your input. Do you want to go ahead and approve these second readings because they are the ones y'all have changed and reviewed and discussed?
Yes.
Then after tonight, I can create for you a document that is everything that has been changed to date.
And you will also come up with a possible workshop.
Here's what's
Yeah,
left
workshop
and
for stuff
when do you
going
want to
forward.
address them?
Good.
So,
Wait, hold on. Kevin had his hand
Oh,
up.
okay.
But wait, first, the point, we took a note, so things going forward, we can vote on these things that are on the agenda today, we can do a workshop on. Kevin had his hand up. Kevin?
I would agree with Reverend Mack.
Lump it all in one.
Maybe if we get to the point we're doing the board retreat, that we can address policies then,
Okay.
dedicate time to work with that, where everybody's there and alert and can deal with them. The current second readings, we need to go on and get out the way today, and then we can address I agree with what you're saying.
Okay, so we
However, I
need to
did
work-
just remember something, and I wanted to remind y'all. The reason you have these are not because we made changes as a revision of policies. These are those laws that changed.
Right.
These are Jennifer Coker's. So that's why they're kind of random and not in a group like the G policies. I gave you half and then the second half. These are ones that have to be updated based on some standards that Jennifer and her team had to bring
And
to
the,
us.
yeah.
Get it.
Michael, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we lump the rest of the 7B2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 policies under one and vote on them together.
Second that.
So
Okay.
it's to approve POM number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, and number 6.
And seven.
Yeah, 2, 3, 4,
And-
5, and 6.
And 7, because
I want seven
they're
pulled
all
out.
second readings.
I'd like to
Would you
pull
agree to
7
let
out.
7 be pulled out?
No.
Okay, then we have to vote on it.
We'll do each one individually.
I'm just using it.
So what's the motion? Need to know the motion.
Was it seconded?
I second it.
No,
So the question is, will you pull out that one? And if not, then I make a motion that we pull it out, and you have to vote on that before you vote on the motion.
Well, call a vote.
So
Okay.
you don't want to pull it out?
Call
So
a
then
vote.
I make a motion that we separate policy BID from the motion. Does
Okay,
anyone
so-
second
Pull it
that?
out, you know I've got another motion on that.
Okay, I will pull it out.
Pull it out.
All right, we can pull it out.
So restate your motion.
So now the motion will read that we vote
Guys, y'all are setting
2,
standard
3,
of professionalism
4,
up here.
5, and
Michael,
6.
what's your
Right.
motion?
Who's your second?
So the motion is
You
from
said yes.
7B2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, all under one motion.
No, not, you pulled 7 out.
No,
I'm
pull
sorry.
7 out.
I said 6.
6, right.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm
Right,
sorry.
and
And
who's
Kevin,
the second?
second it.
do you approve
Okay,
that
and Kevin
second?
second. All right. So we're doing, Portia, you got that? 7B, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Mr. Hollingstead, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Coates?
Yes.
Reverend Collins?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Strauss?
Yes.
Reverend Mack? And I vote yes. So those 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 all pass.
Bless you, bless you.
Okay,
Chair,
yes.
I make a motion that policy BID be approved for a second reading.
Okay, wait, hold on, let me, 5, 6, 7, which one says 7? Okay, so Kevin made a motion. Do we have a second for policy BID?
Yes.
Okay, so Kevin made a motion, sorry, I'm just moving slowly, guys. Kevin made a motion, and Reverend Collins, you seconded?
Yes.
Okay, do we have any discussion?
I'd have a friendly amendment motion that I'd like to make for everyone to consider. My motion to amend would be that this would not go into effect until after the November 2018 election, so that the public will have an opportunity to evaluate each of the candidates and decide whether they want to have compensation for each of us up here.
Mr. Stobbs, I'd like to point out that that what your motion is doesn't accomplish what you just said you wanted accomplished. Half of the board is not elected in November of 2018. So half of them will not
You'll be
go through
gone.
an election cycle.
Who's going in 18? I mean, not who's going, I mean,
That's
who's,
right.
Have to vote.
who's up for re-election in 18 is what I meant to
Have to
say.
vote.
Right, I'm right.
Slip of the tongue, right, Jeff? You like that, right? Mm-hmm.
Well, so just call
That
the
was,
vote on the-
that wasn't
I
Freudian.
mean,
Okay, so,
We'll put that picture in the paper.
We either have a second or not.
all right, so Chris made a motion, or made a friendly amendment to have this be effective for the.
After the election.
After the 2018 election. So, who made the motion? Kevin and Chris, are y'all?
I take the vote on his motion.
Someone's got to, yeah, I either have to get a second or it dies.
Oh, yeah, he gets a second. He needs to
So
change
they're
the
not
vote.
agreeing to a friendly amendment, so now his motion needs a second.
Okay, so y'all don't agree to change that, or, I mean, add that to yours. Do we have a second to Chris's motion?
They did not agree to it.
They didn't, but
They
he
didn't,
can,
so
so
it would just have to be a
he's,
separate motion if it's
he's
going
making a separate motion.
A separate motion.
So,
So I guess it
so
does.
nobody's making a second to that.
What was your motion?
My motion was that this not be effective until after the November
what's your motion?
2018 election to allow the public to weigh in on it. That's my
Call for the
motion.
question.
I think I've told everybody I don't think we
Yeah,
should
yeah.
get paid without the public having a chance.
You've done a good job. We're proud of you.
Well, thank you.
You did a good job.
Yeah.
So we're waiting to see if there's some.
No one's seconding it.
Okay.
I'll second it.
All right.
Okay, so the motion is, God, I need some more caffeine. The motion is,
To delay the implementation until November of 2018. If
Okay.
it passes. Remember, you got,
Right, it may not pass.
so I'm going to make that Chris's.
I gotta use some bathroom.
Okay, Mr. Hollenshed,
No?
Ms. Coach,
I'm abstaining.
Reverend Collins,
Abstain. No.
Y'all don't laugh at him.
Mr. Miller,
No.
Mr. Stobbs,
Yes.
Reverend Mack.
No.
I vote no, the motion fails.
All right.
Okay. Any other discussion, or did I hear you call for the question?
Question.
Call question.
Okay. Mr. Hollenshed,
Aye.
Ms. Coates,
I abstain.
Reverend Collins,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Aye. Aye.
Mr. Stobbs,
I'm going to abstain because I don't think that I shouldn't be able to vote on my own raise.
Reverend Mack,
Yes.
No, it's not right.
and I vote no. Motion passes.
Can you tell us the votes,
What?
summarize them?
The votes were Mr. Hollenshed, yes. Ms. Coates abstains. Reverend Collins, yes. Mr. Miller, yes. Mr. Stobbs abstained. Reverend Mack, yes. Ms. Darby, no.
So 4 yeses, 1 no, and 2
Two
abstentions.
abstentions, yeah.
So I'm assuming we'll be reducing our fund balance by $500,000?
I'm assuming we'll be
We can
getting
talk about
sued.
that.
I'm going to change my vote to a no because I don't think this is right.
That's a good idea, thank you. Okay.
Good job, Chris.
Okay?
You know what? No, I'm not.
Did
Go
you
ahead,
get
change
that,
yours to-
did you
change
get
yours
that
to-
Portia to
Who
a
else
no?
wants to change theirs with me?
I'm gonna beat you up, man.
Mr. Stobbs changed his vote to a no.
Yeah. Who else wants to join me and change it to a no?
You're not riding with her tonight. She ain't gonna beat you up.
No, he's right there. So,
We get that. What's it?
no, so, wait, I'm going to repeat it to Portia. So, Mr. Hollenshed voted yes, Mrs. Coates abstained, Reverend Collins voted yes, Mr. Miller voted yes. Mr. Staubs voted no. Reverend Mack voted yes. Mrs. Darby voted no. Okay, the next item on the agenda is,
Move to
audit-
approve.
okay, it's the tax anticipation note
Second.
resolution. All right,
This is the fixed cost of ownership
Yes.
reallocation.
okay. All right,
I did.
all right.
Question?
Okay, Mr. Hollenshed,
Aye.
Going crazy, yeah. He likes that.
Cindy,
Yes.
Made his day.
Reverend Collins,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Aye. Yeah.
Mr. Staubs.
Yes.
Reverend Mack,
Yes.
and I vote yes, the motion passes. And the next item is the audit and,
The next item is the capital building program sales tax
Sales
reallocation.
tax budget reallocation, yeah.
Move to approve.
Second, yeah.
okay. All right, Mr. Hollenshed,
Aye.
Ms. Coates,
Yes.
Reverend Collins,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Aye.
Mr. Staubs,
Yes.
Reverend Mack,
Yes.
and I vote yes, the motion passes. And
Consent. Is there any consent?
Tennis line for Ondo.
Wasn't it? Word?
No, that's putting it off for a year or something.
Yeah.
I thought you put that off 3 years.
The next motion before us is I make a motion that we accept the letter from constituent districts 1 and 2 extending the timeline for the established attendance lines.
those were all in the consent, guys.
Oh, that was
Sorry.
on the consent?
Yeah, those were all in
Okay.
consent. Sorry. Yeah, sorry. The last two, sorry, the next were the tax anticipation note resolution.
Brutal.
Sorry. So those
I
three.
move to
yeah.
approve the resolution
Okay.
authorizing the
People that were
issuance of the
upset.
tax anticipation notes.
Okay. Mr. Hollenshed,
Yes.
Mrs. Coates,
Yes.
Reverend Collins,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Staubs,
Yes.
Reverend Mack,
Yes.
and I vote yes. And then the next item is the Audit and Finance Committee membership.
I move to approve appointing Brett Johnson to the Audit and Finance Committee for 2 years.
Okay, Mr. Hollenshed,
Yes.
Ms. Coates,
Yes.
Reverend Collins,
Yes.
Mr. Miller, he left, Mr. Staubs,
Yes.
Reverend Mack,
Yes.
and I vote yes. I think we've already talked about that. Any other items?
Move
for
to
discussion?
adjourn.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Wait, before you move, I want to know if I could get, at the next, committee of the whole, if we can place on the agenda, discussion of the agenda policy.
You can do a board action form. and-
Yeah, I know that, but I'm asking for support.
Write it up and present it, and I'll
Write and
see.
present it, okay.
Or email me tomorrow and you're not going on it. All right, meeting adjourned.